On today's episode of Let's Talk FGO, it's Black Friday, and I hope you're ready to deal with some upcoming events. Thanksgiving stuff still happening. Also, future events. And is the GudaGuda Christmas real? Who knows? All right, I am one of your hosts. Sorry, I had to mentally scrap a joke there. No, we're not going to do that one. Maybe I'll tell you about that later. I'm Omega. The one who's laughing at my folly is Lucky.
Yeah, that's me. I hope everyone is enjoying Fate Grand Order, aka the power of love! And while we here at Studio Omega like to bring you the latest in FGO-related news and memes, we will be talking about the current and future events for both the JP and EA version of the game, so anyone not wanting spoilers should continue eating their Thanksgiving leftovers.
Yes, lots of leftovers to go around.
I got like 2 days worth left for myself.
Though oddly enough, we didn't break into leftovers tonight. I don't know if it was just because of family or company or stuff, but we went for Black Friday pizza and wings, which is, I approve of this habit.
Right on. I decided I wanted Mexican today, so I went and ordered like $50 worth of Mexican food and downed all that, which was a horrible idea, but here we are. I don't know why I needed 8th Street tacos, but I felt like it was an 8th Street taco kind of day.
You know, when you feel the feels, you feel them. But, well, let's take a few. Before we go any further, I'd like to remind you this episode is brought to you by our lovely patrons like Adam Harp, Like Stogie, Call Me Zed, Carlos, Dragon, Flightly Cyspirit, Jeremy Vasquez, GDB9000, Just the Pay, John Sandoval, Starlight, Legendary Boss Hunter, Liam Kessler, Regent Raptor, Rise of Kenji, Rogue Robyn, Charvor, Sean Pyre, some guy named Bob, and Baron the Crow. If you like what we do, season more, consider supporting us on Patreon. Get access to episodes early on for the goodies, and it really helps us out. Thank you for your support, as always.
Thank you very much.
And I was at a very real concern that I was going to run out of breath there. It's been cold, but also something outside is, like, agitating my sinuses, so it's terrible. It should be illegal. Hopefully it rains again and gets whatever it is that's decided. It's, like, probably something that, like, does something normally during fall temperatures, and we just didn't have a fall. So
I'm sorry, I just think about that. I just think about, like, it being the most clickbaity fucking YouTube. Where pre-winter should be illegal, just and illegal isn't just some big red blocks and just exclamation points.
Yeah. But
that's good. Yeah.
That's okay. This episode's title is going to be, you know, something involving the phrase GudaGuda for Christmas, exclamation point, question mark. More on that later. Stay tuned.
Woo.
So, yes, we've done all the intros and stuff, and that means it's time to check in with everybody's favorite. Go ahead. Mesh.
先輩、起きてください。
Because it's time for Wake the Fuck Up Senpai. We're going to for pro tips. Sorry, I couldn't be more yelly about that. Listen, like I said, if you hear me have to stop for breath or to cough, it's because, you know, I'm fighting Mother Nature here. I'm not winning. Mother Nature got hands. But I have 2 tips for you today. 1, please shop responsibly. Obviously, by the time this goes live to public, most of you won't have to deal with the actual chaos of a Black Friday, so I hope you did shop safely. But, you know, there's other stuff going on. At this point, we've basically turned the whole weekend, the whole 4-day weekend, you know, the entire space into a retail extravaganza. So, you know, be cool, be cautious out there. But also, once again, I am reminding you, begging you even, complete Lost Belt 6. It's important. You need to do it. You've only got probably at this point maybe a month to do it before Tunguska starts, and you're going to have a Christmas lotto that I know you guys out there are going to want to be farming, so plan accordingly. These have been your pro tips. Oh, yeah, I mean, yes, it is long. Luckily, you've got half AP right now, but you're going to have to get that ketchup, and also maybe that mustard. Anyway, that is your pro tip. So, next, on a regular achievement topic. Haha, we have things here. So, first of all, did this on air, but in case you weren't paying attention to that segment, I think it was technically in the middle of, like, late mailbag or what's up last week, but I rolled a Lancer Ryoma.
Woo!
The banner fired up early, so I rolled it, and I got one. Also, thanks to everybody asking Nissan for more Saint Courts at the Thanksgiving, you know, kind of announcement panel they did at Anime NYC. I got enough for another 10 spin, and I rolled an Okuni as well. Yay.
Mission accomplished! Fly the jets overhead!
Yes, give me the big banners, hit the music. Now I don't have to use Saint Courts for the rest of this year, at least.
Oh god, I'm slightly bummed.
Yeah, you got stuff.
I got stuff.
You got Thanksgiving. It's Cyber Monday. Anyway, all missions cleared on the event. Yes, that's all 99 missions. Got all my grails. My Ranmaru is NP5. My Ryoma Smile is protected. We're still working on Okuni, but I can take the time to do the Happy P dailies, so it's in the backlog. All in all, good times.
Good times. And speaking of those times, it's my turn. As was also heard on the last show, also Lancer Roma get, and also Smile Protected. That's why you have that lovely, lovely full image. Well, it's not full. I had to cut off the top and bottom. I'm sorry.
It's a very big image.
This is a very big image. Excuse me. But also Ranmaru, MP5, and Permanent. I have not finished my missions, though. I'm at like 92 of 100.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like, because my last ones were all the, like, beat, like, 10 or so of each class of servant.
Yeah, I'm on those too.
Yeah, that's annoying, because, like, for some of those classes, there's literally one node that does it, and there's only one servant, so you just have to do that same node over and over again.
Ugh.
It's a little monotonous, but, you know, you'll get through with a couple of apples and just, you know, usually throwing Summer Musashi at things.
That's what I've been doing.
Go
Unfortunately, I've been trying to build up my apples again. I'm up to 40 again. I'm just like, I don't want to go low. I was at like 10 to 15 not too long ago, and I'm just like, nope.
Well, we do have a lotto coming up, so you probably don't want to spend too much, but
Exactly.
they are all 40 AP, so you only got a couple of days left, so you got to be judicious with your time. And yes, many people thought we would get blue apples early. We did not, but we did get some stuff. We'll get in that in just a second, though, because first we need to check in. Did you finish your master missions? So your normal weekly master missions this week are defeat 3 Sabercaster enemies, and then mirror that for Archer Lancers and Riders Assassin Berserkers. I feel like we literally just did this, but I think that might have been 2 weeks ago. But I know that these are accurate because I am, writing this list while, looking at my phone for what the master missions are. So yes, no, we're doing those again. Defeat 20 and then 40 enemies, not servants or certain storyline bosses, and then defeat 15 enemies with the Earth attribute. So hey, guess what? Do the event.
Do the event.
All of these classes should be available, and if you've already done all of the event like me and you've still got some missions left over, you can do half AP dailies.
Slap them.
Woo!
Woo! Sorry,
All right.
Lucky's in a slightly manic mood, so you're just gonna have to deal with that.
Yeah, it's good. It means that our energy levels balance out. We're not both super low energy. Like everybody was low energy on this week's Shadowbringer stream. We were all just very quiet and somber.
A lot of us left early.
Yeah, people were tired and they bounced. Some people were out for because it was the day before Thanksgiving, and then just a lot of the stream was just me quietly doing Shadowbringer's thing in the rain.
Just in the rain, the most depressing.
Yeah,
mood.
it rained a lot. Some of it was story related, some of it was not. I think the Secret Great Witch just decided to be rainy that day. Anyway, so you're like up, and I'm like not necessarily low energy, but I can't. If I get too much force in my chest, I'm gonna cough, and it's gonna be ugly on the sound waves.
Very.
Kind of like that, though. I turned away. Anyway, our first news item chronologically.
Yes.
The FGO Thanksgiving Special 2023. Dropping the 21st, going until the 1st of December. So, Tucson was there, Nissan. He was present at Anime NYC, and he brought you presents. First of all, log in for 3 days at all during this period for some goodies. There's some Saint Quartz, there was a summon ticket, there's some gold foes in there. And also, a copy each of all the special NA Anniversary CEs. That's right,
very nice.
Back. Yeah.
Very nice. This made some tiny waves over in Japan, by the way, so people are all like, what?
Yeah.
And we're like,
I don't... Because I do believe that, was it Korea or China? One of the other regions very recently got an exclusive special CE as well. So I think it might have been the Korean one. So like it's they're doing these things, and I suspect they'll keep them that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're just giving us the push.
Be your own thing. Fly, you baby bird.
Keeping it real. We also have limited time master missions for 10 site courts. Just keep up with all your Thanksgiving stuff going on there. We've also added new extreme training grounds.
Extreme.
So yes, your training grounds got updated. Nice. You
Nice.
can find new mats and higher quality mats and stuff in there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's keeping up all our daily upgrades. I think we have all of them now, unless there's a new doors version that's not in yet. But I think we've gotten our new doors and new EXP, new hands. So this is it. We're good. The only way we can go up from here is when they do Bleached Earth quests, but that's going to be for story stuff. So you'll be waiting a while, about a year actually. But we also have some other stuff. Amakusa's costumes in the shop because they scavenged the Apocrypha Blu-ray DVD compilation release event into this. So you got a little Amakusa touch there. You've got half AP dailies until the 1st of December. You've got double suck chance going all around. And probably the big one for us, skill and command card subs are in. As explained in the update, this was a feature, obviously, that previously happened with certain NPC servants whose normal lines you couldn't view. Now they're just for everybody. So whenever you tap a command card or use a skill, you will see a little sub box, and that's the subs.
Ta-da!
A small but welcome change. And I think a lot of people are very excited about that. It gets us a little closer to possibly being fully subtitled.
I mean, I like it.
Yeah. It's good to catch up, because, obviously, I don't think this was a necessary update. I think I've said in the past that technically, if you own a servant, you can view their lines in the voice factor anyway. Mm-hmm. But there's also, over 300 servants now, so the odds that you would actually go and do that for, every single servant, probably low. I
mean, I do like to check out the voice on but I will say there are also sometimes unique servants who have unique voice lines that you won't necessarily get.
Yes, so this kind of covers everything.
Yeah.
By making it just a feature.
I really want to go back and know what the Elemental Iries were saying back in the Zero collab.
Yeah, sadly we can't. That's something we can't double check because that event is lost forever.
It is. You guys might remember the Elemental Iries, but they each had unique voice lines for certain bits, and I never knew what they said, so I was just like, no. I remember that the Wind Irie was had a super long death line. I'm just like, what are you saying, girl?
Yeah. But yeah, no, they had a few of those. But we also got some banners. So your order of the rotation is going to be Astolfo Saber, Summer Jean, Kiara, Amakusa, Semiramis, Abby, and Kama. Kama. So most of this is, like I said, the APOC crew, but you got a couple extras tucked in there. Kiara, Abby, Kama. We also got, some summer rotations in there because it's, Summer John and Summer Fran is the 4-star in that one. So, all in all, some good stuff. And we got a grand total of 20 SQ for the panel. This is what I said earlier when saying that people got out there to get us more. Albert joined in, the crowd joined in. Also, our other two guests from Japan, the voice actors, for Beryl and Pepe, they were also into it too. So, shout out to everybody for that lean. And yeah, got some extra Saint Quartz. Goody gumdrops. Also, starting the 21st, we got the Story Clear Support Campaign Part 3. So most of your deadlines for stuff happening for Part 1 and 2 of this have, also been updated or extended. But we've got a few unique things going on as well. The limited missions to keep clearing will give you 6 Saint Quartz and a lore, crystallized lore. If you're already caught up on story, you'll get all of these anyway, so that's good. If not, hey, more reason to do the stuff. And we've extended the half AP bubble, all the way into LB6, just straight up, hey, please clear the main story. You got an event coming up. So, we're pushing. We're trying things.
Moving out.
Speaking of movement, though, let's tap over to JP for a little bit.
Whee!
Because, yes, obviously, with things as they are, the people have been tense. I believe the way our Discord has phrased it, I think it was Legendary who used the Chainsaw Man cycle to basically describe FGO fans. It's so over, bros. We're so back. It's so over. We're so back. That feels like how JP FGO is. When people are down, they're really down, and then when we come back, we're spitting fire. It's a little uneven. I do kind of feel it's such a weird roller coaster, even as a bystander to watch every time. But you can't deny that when we're back, we're back. We're so back. Because we've gotten Evocation Festival Part 6, which is also leading up to our upcoming events as well. So Part 6 starts the 22nd of November, and it's going on until the 6th of December. And added to the Evocation Shop, you have Cha-Cha, Ryoma, and Santa Nightingale. You have login bonuses and limited missions for the selected servants as usual, so you can log in, during this time period to get extra, EXPs, foes, and also lots of the spirit leaves you need. There's also limited missions to use all these servants. You get the usual Evocation Festival bonuses. I just decided to collapse down that bullet point, so you're looking at, double suck chance for these guys, 20% bond, they get damage up, etc., etc. So, half AP on all their interludes. Yes, thank you for grabbing it. It's we're back, it's over. We're so back, it's so over. And so it goes. But yeah, so all those new incentives to actually use them. We also have another thing they're doing for this, a, special feature CE to show off. Yeah. Showing you, Cha-Cha, Ryoma, and Nightingale together. This being the kind of cover image they're using for the CE got a lot of people speculating about, hey, Is there going to be a GudaGuda Christmas crossover? Well, more on that in a second. But we're definitely building up to stuff, in case you were curious. No, I can tell you that they're building 2 new events and multiple new events. But we got some more news for that coming out of announcements later. But also, as you might expect for welfares being added to Evocation Festival, we got rank ups. Honestly, kind of... I mean, I don't want to say overdue per se, but definitely Cha-Cha is one of the upgrades. If you didn't already know, you can rest easy. She did get the rank up, and that was definitely something that, like, a lot of people have been pushing for. So her golden rule has been upgraded. It is now 10 to 20% NP per turn. It was previously 5 to 10, I believe. So, double the amount of NP you gen per turn. And is now also a 20 to 30% buster up for 3 turns as well. So,
nice.
Damage steroid and much better NP gen over time. Additionally, Ryoma got an upgrade to his NP. So this is a thing they've done a couple of times, but it is still pretty rare. They basically replaced his overcharge effect entirely. Previously, his overcharge effect was the charge down. That is just now permanent.
Oh, okay.
If you hit him with it, it's just got a flat. It will reduce their NP charge by 1 pip. Now, the overcharge effect is to gain stars. And let me actually check the scaling on that as well. Which is also, I would say that's good for Ryoma because he likes arts and crit, and so you need a little help with the star generation.
I wouldn't say so much on the crit.
I think
his kid's actually very support like kind of thing when you get down to it.
I think he's got a team-wide crit buff. Let's see, normal charisma. Oh no, it's the party. No. It's just party arts and then party battery.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I mean.
So generating the stars for the team is still good, but
yeah, like I said, I think it puts him more into his light support kind of role. Like I said, I still think he's a good single target writer arts.
Yeah. I know he's got the guaranteed, charge reduction for the stall.
Yeah.
But also, the scale, which remember, this is a welfare, so you're eventually aiming for an NP5. It's 10 to 30 stars based on overcharge. So if you get all the way to 500, you get 30 stars. That's a great infusion for a unit that is normally more arts facing. So yeah, even if he doesn't need the stars himself, though as a writer, he will probably suck up some of them if you're not careful about your star weights. But yeah, so both of those good buffs, very solid selection to get in there. And we also got some banner rotations announced for this. So you've got Mao Nobu and Summer Nobu on one. You've got Lancer Ryoma and Izo on another. Very funny that they include Izo as the premium slot there, the 3-star, but he is limited. And I know some people who are having trouble getting him. And then lastly, we have a Nightingale Rhyme banner as well. No updates to Santa Nightingale. I guess she's still fine. Let's see, I don't use her a lot, but her kit is more recovery focused, and she's good at that. Also, I would like to point out that I totally called my shot on this Ryoma banner. In the Ryoma Lancer Wanted, which please, if you haven't watched, go watch. I know it was late, but that's because it's long. There's like 20 solid minutes of me just talking about history and shit. There's a lot of explaining to do, so catch up if you haven't. If you have any lore questions about some stuff going on with Ryoma as well, I've got some answers for you in there. But at the end, I'm totally like, yeah, so given how much that we have NA and JP kind of doing this like cross-promotion, I'm not going to be shocked if there's not a Ryoma banner somewhere in here. And here it is.
Ta-da!
Just a few days later, they tucked it in. So yeah. But while we do know, because they did kind of give us a whole, like, roadmap, screenshot, including we did get... I haven't put it in the news because if you've logged into FGO NA in the past week, you've seen it. But we do officially have the, preview trailer for Tunguska Sanctuary.
Yes.
Got the big build-up, but that, played when you opened the app for anybody using the most recent version. I assume that eventually, stops after a certain period, but you be seeing it. We also, good.
I've only saw it once, so I think it's only supposed to play once. But I do believe some people were having errors with it.
Yes. I think you even said at one point you had trouble opening FGO.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're at work or on mobile data when your connection's not so good, you may have had some problems opening FGO. It's because of the video. This is a complaint I've had kind of off and on when FGO forces the video watches on you. It can get a little laggy.
Yeah.
If your connection's not as great. Something that our Japanese developers probably don't think about because they have great cellular to internet coverage in most urban areas in Japan. But yeah, so we got that. We also did get an announcement that, we will have our Christmas coming up and then the Tunguska Sanctuary, happening later in the month. So, keep your eyes peeled for all that. But obviously we are still, probably a week or so away from that, I would say. So they have announced what's coming next, which is Interlude Campaign 18 in NA. Starting the 26th, going until the 3rd of December, so this is probably a good point to, mark your calendars off for when the Christmas Lotto is going to happen. Though they did show the banner image with Santa Martha, looking even more baby-faced than I remember. But we do know it now. They've fully announced what will be an interlude campaign, so you've got SQ interludes for, say, Shonagon, Gareth, Kama, and Hokusai. Yes, yet another Kama interlude.
I'm excited.
We have a lot of fun there.
Yeah.
Also, it's Sei and Gareth. One, it'll be fun to hang out with Gareth, but also I cannot imagine after summer what Sei's interlude is going to be like. We have a Chiron NP interlude and a Galatea skill interlude. If you have a Galatea, the skill interlude is important. This is one of the ones that helps fix her up and give her own niche besides just more Vlads. Also, you need to catch up on your interludes. You're looking at half AP. You're looking at double suck for the targeted servants, and this will also be after the double suck for Thanksgiving has ended, so you can keep that effect going. And we do have a consecutive log in for it's truncated. It's 5 days, or is it 3 days? Anyway, log in for 2 tickets and some 5-star EXPs. So just do some login check-in. And then the zinger, JP has announced that their next event is indeed GudaGuda, and it will be followed up by Christmas. A lot of people were wondering if this would be a wombo combo. You'd see a GudaGuda Lotto for Christmas, but no, it sounds like they are saying they are 2 separate events. And given the timing, they're probably both going to happen in the month of December. I do believe this means that we're probably not going to get another story release in
probably not, no.
December.
We do not have the time for it.
Honestly, given that it seems like there have been reports that Lysenko might be having staffing issues. That's why they did the promo video and stuff to try and attract more workers. And, given that there have been some delays, if they're rounding things out a little to give more time to do big story updates, that's perfectly fair. But yeah, so we're gonna do GudaGuda first and a Christmas event. The stream is on the 29th, so it seems like the GudaGuda is gonna start on those last couple of days in November, and we're gonna see what's up. But 2 events.
Yeah, no, I think these 2 events will probably run us up right up against New Year's, and then they could kick off their New Year's celebration. If I'm assuming. I wouldn't be surprised if we have some sort of story event happening late winter, though.
Yes.
Maybe January, February. If not a full-on story event, something to let people cut their teeth on. We
should, and I mean, depending on when they're pacing these out, there should be those continuing episodes of Ordeal Call. They are still making sure to do, regularly introducing new free quests and challenge quests in the Bleached Earth, basically, as our end game content. So those story releases should be coming, and I mean, if they want to take their extra time to polish them up, obviously, lots of the Type Moon writers are busy working on stuff, but we can be hopeful for that. And I think we've had some early year, late winter, early calendar year story releases before. Technically, Lost Belt 7 ended up getting pushed, so half of it was in the January, literally the last day. So they may just have taken that as okay, fuck it, we're just gonna push the whole thing into January now, so we don't have to worry about rushing for Christmas or New Year's. Yeah, EOR 1 was in February, but that was also that was because we had to introduce the gap year concept after Time Temple Solomon. Though we are kind of taking a couple gap years, I guess. Sorry, inhaled weird. But yeah, so we got a stream on the 29th, and we should be getting details on all of our upcoming stuff. We've said explicitly it's GudaGuda, and there will be a Christmas, so that's nice.
Take bets. Is the NPC count going to increase or decrease?
Oh, it'll increase. I'm no bet on if it increases. I think the appropriate time is to take your over-under on who gets de-NPC-ified.
No, playing this event, I'm just oh no, I need this person. How dare?
Yeah, no, it's like that every GudaGuda. At least we got to chip out Tagasugi, earlier this year.
Very true.
We're gonna stealth out the extra GudaGudas. But yeah, we don't know anything about the details other than, like I said, I'm going to guess that Achacha and Ryoma are involved because they are the GudaGudas the welfares we decided to add to the pool.
Give me the Winter Siege of Osaka. Give me Lady Yodogiri. Give her.
Yes.
Give her to me.
That I think is the universal. Like I said, I'm in other Discord servers that have their own little Fate areas, and everybody's out here also standing Lady Yodo, and I'm like, yes, we support Lady Yodo at this house. So I'm hopeful as well. Chacha got a buff. She's getting re-released. It's her time. Roma got his fucking glow up that we're showing off. Let's go.
If I remember, I think the Winter Siege of Osaka was the first one. The summer one was the second one.
There's all you need is just to do a GudaGuda style event. All you need is just a little crumb of something,
All right, well, I'll throw my hat in that ring then. Give me Avenger Lady Yodo. That's my bet. Mark it down.
Now, I wouldn't mind seeing Takeshi Sensei, but we got some stuff.
I think I would like Takeshi as well.
He's very dapper, and he has a couple of different looks in the event. So I'm
what
sure
class,
we could work.
What class would he be?
That is a good question. I don't know, because he's not a manslayer, so I don't know if he would be an assassin. Would he also be a writer like Ryoma? But Ryoma actually has a background as a Navy man.
Yeah, he's known as the father of the Japanese Navy. Takasugi was more of a.
He did also study swordsmanship, like Ryoma. It's very funny, by the way, that Ryoma is categorized as either a writer or a lancer, when by I know there's a shitload of sabers, obviously, for this reason, but he also probably should qualify as a saber. He was a master swordsman by age 17. But yeah,
he did get. I don't know. I think Takeshi could actually probably be an archer. He was actually pretty well versed in guns, and did give Ryoma his first gun.
Yeah,
that whole thing in Ishin where her fucking hands in the gun, that happened.
Yeah, and I mean, Sakamoto Ryoma in this event even mentions it. When he gets that flashback, he's like, "Hey, thanks for the revolver." Smith and Wesson, by the way. But yeah, no. So there's some good stuff there. We'll keep an ear out. And of course, yes, there's a huge backlog. If it is Chacha or Lady Yodo, maybe we'll finally get the big boy. He's like a 3-star berserker.
They would have to. It's important.
I mean, it feels like it would be the good matchup, yeah. But we'll see what happens. We'll see when we see. We'll probably get first details on that 29th stream, yeah. But yeah, no. As we enter the we're so back phase, that's the end of our news for this week.
Alrighty then, that means it is time for this week's Let's Talk FGO mailbag, the segment where we read what you have to say and comment accordingly. Oh, we got set. Wait, no, refresh.
Accordingly.
It's still 7. That's okay. We got plenty to talk about in the What's Up segment. We're going to talk about Scott Pilgrim. I hope you are all excited for that. It'll be great. But first, let's get through these. So, coming up first is a Kabuki master writing the seas. I don't know why I said ways, probably because the next word is Watasumi. Meh. But they say, what's up, dudes? I hope your Thanksgiving was enjoyable. Unlike me, you had to work from 3 until midnight. That is horrible. I am sorry. But not all bad news, though, because Saturday I went to Anime NYC, where I and other FGO players got to meet and greet get our official FGO merch autographed by Tucson in person. It was a good time overall, and the FGO panel was the icing on the cake. So my question is, what servant that you can think of has one of the most unique battle animations so far? For me, it would be Morgan and her staff that she used to drain the enemy's life for which I thought was very different from all the bun pack, beam slam, and kicks of other servants. It took a while for me to get this question out, doing the forgetting. With all that said, enjoy the rest of your Thanksgiving weekend. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thumbs up to you. Also,
you want to know my favorite one? Tamamo Cat, where she does her extra attack and she throws a fucking giant omurice instead of a fireball.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one. Animations. Oh, there's a few, but honestly, for uniqueness, it's probably got to be one of the summers, because that's when they get weird. Summer Candace actually throws the fucking flashbang. Oh my god, no, and I'm just thinking about both normal and Summer Sei's animations. Oh god. The Kamari Ball, the fucking Shine logo popping out at people. Sei's just,
chaos.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it for that. Let's keep moving on. The next one comes from The Eternal Storm. They say, hey guys, due to the APOC DVD release Thanksgiving banner, I have a question that's been on my mind for a while and wanted your input. Question, when looking at the Yggdrasil siblings, I noticed how they follow the archetype of male-female versions of the same character, such as Genshin Impact, Honkai Impact. So I was wondering what was your thought on them for being the prototype of the MCF FGO. Thank you for your time and hope you had a happy Thanksgiving. So twins?
Well, I mean, fraternal twins don't have to look like each other.
I know.
Though anime does like to do that. I mean, they are twins, and that's kind of the plot of their thing with their family. With, the stuff with the, whatchamacallit, the, family crest and stuff. But,
yeah.
I don't I mean, like, honestly, first of all, the Masters in FGO don't actually look that similar. They have... I mean, it's people will joke Takuchi One Face, but, like, they do have slightly different facial structures. And obviously they have different hairstyles and colors. They're not trying to look similar. So I don't know if that is a one for one, especially because like I said, Takuchi did the key art for the Masters in FGO, and I don't remember the artist who did all the draws for Apocrypha off the top of my head, and I'm very sorry, but that was a different concept artist. Also, this is me like not knowing anything about Genshin or Honkai. Did they both do the? Well, I guess I played Genshin, so you're talking about how you can pick the player character, male or female. Does Honkai do the same thing?
I don't know.
I feel like there's a comment there that we can leave to chat about how many gacha type games have a pickable gender and how that works out character wise. Shrug.
Big shrug. So we're gonna keep on going. So the next one comes from the Tiger King, who's rocking out the new FGO albums that dropped while having his stomach recovered from yesterday. Oh, ain't that the truth? But they go on to say, "Hey, Pandora Lucky and Pandora Omega. It is that time of the year, isn't it? I can't even really fight it anymore, now can I?" Oh, we did. With GudaGuda and Christmas back-to-back, any thoughts on who the welfares might be or the new servant, since JP likes to now play off the NA side? Anyway, that's it for me. Saying good vibes your way and hope you have a great evening. Wah, 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 wah.
Well, so we already discussed this a little with the GudaGuda side. Who's a welfare? That I don't know, because I feel like most of the servants we have in NPC jail have multiple ascension sprites. Also, if it was Lady Yodo, she should not be the welfare, because Chacha's already a welfare, and we already got an Avenger welfare out of GudaGuda. Like, we don't need to be double stepping on toes. But that's always like a question mark for like original characters. It could be all kinds of things. Maybe it will be Maxwell's Demon finally.
I think it might be a new character. Oh, give me... I know. Give me Welfare Yasuke.
We did mention him again.
Yes.
But yeah, other than that, for like Christmas, that's like I feel like I don't fucking know with FGO Christmas anymore. We've taken a year off of Christmas, so that's completely up in the air. There's not even a guarantee, because this year we're gonna see a Christmas without a brand new servant. I do kind of expect they'll probably dig up a new servant to end like the year on a high note for SSRs. I forgot to mention this earlier. I do believe they said that the Christmas event will need 6.5 Trom cleared. So we're talking about maybe some story catch up there. On the one hand, I accept the joke about Santa Charlie. I approve of this. He has 12 rainbow reindeer. But other than like that, I have absolutely no heckin' idea. Though Astolfo does show up in Christmases a lot anyway. Obviously, like, Saber Stolf was one of those years as well. So we could get like a Roland or Charlemagne Santa cameo. That could be interesting. I will continue to predict, because we still somehow haven't caught up on Extella's side. Archimedes for Christmas. Your present, Death Rays. For Christmas I have given you lasers. And then play that one Trans-Siberian Orchestra song. You know the one. Or you don't, because you're all tiny baby children.
Don't insult the audience.
Sorry, I'm just feeling my age. I did did some experimenting with some stuff, trying out events in Discord, did a little read-along of the first volume of Scott Pilgrim, which came out in 2004, when I was also a small baby child. But there were some references to things that some of our younger audience members didn't get at all, because they were things that would have been in the childhood slice to the author when he was a 20-something.
Clearly this means you need to do a YouTube series where you break down the books and all the references in it and explain it to everybody.
I mean, I could do that. Would anybody watch that? Somebody would watch it, but
I think it'd be interesting. But you have to do more than just show the pages. You have to pull up like other images, music videos, and point things out. Put text on screen. It's important.
Draw
visual
big grid
flair.
Circles. I actually also probably would have to draw big grid circles, because some details are subtle. But yes, there's my Christmas guesses.
Call the series OK Boomer. Take it back! Gonna take it back, Omega!
It's making me chuckle. It's dangerous.
Welcome to Manic Lucky. So, let's keep going. So, this next one comes from Subtitle Enjoyer, who says, question, if you were to design an event, what would be the main theme? In my case, I think a Murin world or a martial arts... I'm sorry, I had to do an error 404, as I read this as 3 different ways and none of them are right. I read this as conception, conniption, and compection.
Well, it's not spelled correctly for what I think they meant, which is competition, which has an M in it. And also the P and the E, I think, should be... Actually, no, there should be an extra E.
Congratulations, you temporarily broke Lucky's brain. I hope you mark off it on your calendars and your scoreboards. And you go get your winnings from Las Vegas.
Yeah, Lucky was trying to speedrun this sentence and then just...
But would be pretty cool. Have it be a main interlude level of importance chapter just to excuse making the protagonist power up or something, since using the mechanics of the event have to be more punchy and less leader. We already fight Gons and aliens and stuff like that on a regular basis. Why not move back up in my favorite mobile game? Ending way, sending heavenly Dao vibes. Listen, I am not part of the Dao of wah-wah-wah-wah-wahs. I can't do that shit. Honestly, I would never be more opposed to the main character getting more power up and actually slapping people, but that always seems a bit outside the purview. You're supposed to be, the small and weak one that stands against things and, defies fate. Like, doesn't have the same impact if you're actually strong.
Yeah. And as for, like, what we're doing in events, I mean, I'll go back to the old standby, something we've suggested a few times. Let's do an actual cooking event.
Yes, cooking.
Make your points clearance or whatever or your missions. You gotta hunt, certain ingredients or whatever. Actually, I think the way that the event missions work in the detective missions, specifically in this GudaGuda work, would be great. Like, imagine that's just like recipe orders, like you're getting the order tickets and you have to like do certain quests to fill them.
Oh, I wouldn't necessarily make it I wouldn't make it then a cooking competition. I would make it like a food truck competition or something to that, like between restaurants, food trucks, other establishments. That way you can basically set up all your enemy teams as like some sort of restaurant or franchise. And then you can have a big evil franchise at the end and a grand prize is a holy grail. And that's why you got to do this thing in the first place.
And that would give you reasons to do like, story fights and with blocks of enemies. Yeah, that would work out great.
That sounds amazing. I love it.
The instead of your detective rating, it's like your fucking restaurant Michelin stars.
Definitely gonna have to come.
Rating.
If I remember correctly, I think the Michelin star actually only goes up to 3. And if you have 1 star, you're actually really fucking good.
That's true. There are some other restaurant rating systems as well, though.
Yeah, we can use half stars. Half a star, 1 star, 1.55, 2.5.
I don't know if Michelin star is like trademarked or something. I don't know if that's some sort of protected intellectual property.
Oh, it's FGO. They'll just name it something else, and we'll go, they're totally ripping off this, and everyone will be like, that's the fantasy.
Mashulin stars.
No. They have to be the Emiya stars. They have to be the Emiya stars. I will refuse any other title.
Get Emiya a second costume where he dresses as a chef, and
they have to be the Emiya stars because. Ugh.
Get me Emiya in a chef's outfit, and instead of his normal black and white swords, it's the pots, the cooking pots he got us. There, done. Fund it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Email. You can address the check too. Actually, I guess you can technically email checks these days, but anyway.
We're gonna move on. This next one comes from Dave, drowning in the gravy. My mom made smothered chicken and gravy for me for Thanksgiving, and it is the best thing ever. It's just chicken breast, and it's just been, like pan fried, but then it's just covered in like chicken gravy, like really, really thick chicken gravy, and it's really good. It's really, really good. I love it. I already ate it all, and I'm slightly sad. That shit gives me dopamine kit boosts. Anyway, they go on to say, I'm curious if you guys have been dealing with more crashes recently. FGO has been very unstable for me, crashing every time I switch off the app or lock the screen for even a second. Got a little bit better when I updated my phone, but I'm still hoping FGO will have an update soon.
Interesting. Haven't noticed that myself.
I've been having problems with FGO for a while, but I don't think that's necessarily on the app side. I think that's more on the I have an old phone side. I do need to upgrade, and I probably will at some point. The time is just not now because I have several servants that I need to roll for.
I do believe that every so often FGO will raise their minimum requirements and stuff, so you always want to make sure to double check that because you might be scooching up close to the limits, and so you should check on that. But yeah, I haven't in particular noticed anything with FGO lately. There have been times when I have had buggy FGO, but not right now.
I still think my favorite bug I happened was back during the K&K. I don't know if it was the first one or the one, but my map glitched out and it actually showed the full image of the map. So it was like, it was itty bitty tiny people. And I just had like this giant hallway on either side. I was like, this is hilarious. If I could take a screenshot of this, I would. But I didn't because I'm an idiot and I don't remember these things.
Yeah, it's a pretty funny one.
Alright, but let's keep going. This next one comes from Monster Kill Aficionado, who says, Dear Lucky Omega, no questions this week, just sending good vibes, wah 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 wah, and wishing you well. Keep up the great work. Thank you. P.S. Please remember that chicken I spear at someone is not typically regarded as a great way to welcome them home. There's worse ways. I take it.
I mean, I'm my first job and my highest level DPS job is still Dragoon, so we throw spears and jump. That's our thing, and we never retreat.
Okay, so this one's not done properly, but I'm gonna do it anyway because, for once, fucking once, someone, well, actually no, people do this on the regular, but it's not as often as I like, someone actually referred to what I was talking about in the body of the text of the mailbag. They say, what's happening December with Kama? It's not actually that weird, it's just the fact that Kama's banner won't actually start until December is here. I think she's, like, literally one of the last ones.
Yeah, she's the last one to come up on rotation for, like, the 4 or 5-ish days. It is.
So I have to bide my time, and wait, and wait, and wait, and then spend all my quartz, and then probably some money. Hopefully not a lot of money. I need that money.
How many copies are you looking for? Just one?
Just one.
You at 4? Yeah.
No, I'm only at, actually, I think I'm only at 2. Kama!
You're only at 2, but you're...
Kama! Oh, I'm in the middle of a cutscene. I can't check right now.
Rip. Well, that's not quite the right one, but that will get me to the right one. Kama rotation, yes. Starts the 3rd, goes until the 6th. So 4 days. Everybody's got a 4-day block.
Actually saying something about Stilmaze that I said someone has clung to a bit for so long. What bit is he talking about?
Yeah, I don't know. Guys, we have so many... This is a general statement. This also applies if you're, writing things into mailbag and stuff, but we've got... Oh, my Lancer? Axe, my sense of humor is to never forget a back joke. It'll be the year 2025. I'll remember something I said in, 2020. I'll bring it back.
Gonna bring it back.
That's just how my sense of humor works. Also, it was funnier when it was a much bigger deal about how, Lancer Guild was like, we don't retreat, and then, funny enough, nothing about further Lancer stuff has been going. Yes, I did say 2025.
Alright, but I do believe that is it for the mailbag. Yay! I hope everyone enjoyed it. Let me actually remember to do it properly and get the next one set up for next week.
Well, I have to step away. We've been recording for about 50-ish minutes, raw. So I got to take a step away before we go into the free talk section. So this is a good intermission point. So you can set up the new thing.
I'm gonna set it up so good. Oh, it's gonna be the 1st of December. Cool.
Also, chat, if you're wondering, Lucky is not pitch corrected. That's just where he's at right now.
My voice actually modulates really, really much with how I'm talking. My normal voice is actually really down here. This is the people who are like, oh my god, Lucky, talk to me more. And then my normal voice is somewhere around here, but when I get too excited, it gets up here.
Yeah, I've been known to squeak or crack occasionally when I get real excited. Normally, I think when I get excited, I just get louder, which is not great. But also, how you sound is different than how you are perceived.
I probably sound like a complete and utter goober right now, but I don't care.
You're just living your best life. That's right, Chad. I'm shilling for Vicks Vapor Rub. When your lungs hurt, it's good for you. God, wow. Sorry, I'm looking at the relative sound waves. I need to choke up on my microphone a little. My levels are low. Which is weird, because, I know that was a thing last week, but right now you're hearing my microphone vis-a-vis my, audio playback. So, yeah, that's normal. So, it's not necessarily that my mic is down, just I'm down low. There's what your joke's going. A little too low. Scooch me up a little. I'll scooch my mic up very slightly. I'll give it a couple extra points. Okay. Anyway, now I'm saying that I'm gonna enunciate and be really loud. That was mailbag. Thank you for your mailbag, as always.
Thank you. I look forward to next week's as well.
We appreciate your mailbag. Now let's move into Culting a Free Talk. We got a couple of things to talk about that are still FGO related before we scooch on to some What's Up stuff. Yeah. It's time for, dealer's choice. Do we do Welfare Corner? Or do we talk about our final impressions of the event impressions?
I say Welfare Corner.
All right. Well, let's recap our cutest new Avenger. So, we do actually have a few SR Avengers, so we've got some stats to compare Ranmaru X to. She's on the low attack, high HP side, and she is QAABB with, unfortunately, low hit counts and low NP gain. She's 0.45 NP and has 2 hits on Arts and Buster. So, trying to massage things a little lower. Her NP is pretty normal. Honestly, would not be shocked if Ranmaru X doesn't end up in Evocation Shop with a NP buff at some point, because it's just defense ignoring damage, and then gives her Star Gen based on OC for 1 turn first. So the hits from Orchid Rounds X are counted. It is pretty good, though. It starts at a plus 100% Star Gen, and, goes from there. So we're talking like, Casgill levels of star boosting. What I'm saying is Ranmaru really wants those brave chains. And it's defense ignoring, which is also useful sometimes. Anyway, her first skill, amazing. Phenomenal support. Gives a targeted ally increased star absorb, gives that ally 30% crit damage up for 1 turn, and is a debuff cleanse, and if you max it out, 4-turn cooldown. Debuffs, never heard of them. Every 4 turns, get them out of here. Also, honestly, even if it's only for 1 turn, every 4 turns of 50% crit up, that's pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah. Second skill is the Ranmaru X. 40% chance to charm all enemies, which is a low chance, but still, it exists. Also, I believe Charm is, like, along with Stun type of Stun, is one of the 2 paralyzes you can actually, like, buff. There's CEs that increase Charm chance, if you really want to go down that route. But also, it's a 10 to 20% defense down for all enemies for 3 turns, and generates 10 stars. Also, third skill, pretty normal stuff here. The Ranmaru Strawl. This is 20-30% arts up for 3 turns, is a 10 to 20% battery on self, and another 10 stars. Also, as an Avenger, Ranmaru X has a crazy amount of passives. So you've got the usual Avenger, which increases your defensive NP gain by a not insignificant amount, though it does lower your whole group's debuff resistance. And you've got Oblivion Correction, though it's only D rank, but it's just a little bit of extra crit all the time. Also, Ranmaru X doesn't have the normal self-replenishment passive for Avengers. Instead, she has Ranimanium, which does generate 3% NP per turn, but also is a passive 3% on arts all the time. So again, not huge numbers, but they do stack up over time, and you are always going to be getting that little bit of extra NP gain. Makes Avengers Trixie. Also, reminding you that Ranmaru X is from space. She has existence outside the domain D, so you've got a passive like 2 stars per turn. And also then she has magic resistance C, which has a decent inherent debuff resist plus domain. I think domain at D is like 3 or 4% debuff resistance. And then MRC is like 15 or 16%. So like she has a decent passive debuff resist for, 4-star welfare. Also, she is completely immune to burn. You cannot burn Ranmaru X. It is not allowed. I think.
Do they actually have an explanation for that?
Well, the skill is called Affection of the Demon King, so we can assume.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's tied to how it's been believed that Ranmaru and Nobunaga did actually have a sexual relationship.
Yes.
And
also, Ranmaru was the retainer who was there at Honnouji and escaped.
Yeah.
With Nobunaga's head becoming a great mystery. Where did it go? I don't think we know.
Let's go ask Cotton Eye Joe.
Yeah, he wouldn't know. He's fucking doing a Eurodance remix. But yes, no, Ranmaru X is completely immune to burn. I think she is our second servant who is straight up immune to burn. Though possibly third. I don't know. There might have been. It's been a long time since Summer BB. But I personally find these kinds of very specific debuff immunities very cute, very handy sometimes.
I do too.
So I will say the dev teams does seem to have been careful to make it so that Ranmaru can't revolutionize fighting all on her own. But she is an Avenger welfare. She's good for clearing up rulers who can be annoying to fight with normal team comps. And it's some very standard arts synergy. She generates arts. She has her own batteries. She's going to be generating NP per turn. Also, let's be real. If you're running an art strat these days, you don't care what the servant's NP gain is. There's 4 different servants who can put you to 100% battery. You just, pass all the juice and you wipe out the waves. You are going to want to make sure to buff those skills if you want to do any arts looping. But still, Avengers are not the most common unit, and I'm pretty sure we don't have a 4-star Arts Avenger like Ranmaru right now, because Gorgon is Buster, and God, I fucking forgot Lobo's name for a second. Anyway, Hessian Lobo is single target quick, so yeah, no, you just straight up in your 4-star slot, if you haven't been rolling on, limited 5 stars, you do not have any other real selection. And if you want the single target arts, you're gonna have to wait for Summer Erisei next year. So yeah, I don't think that her overall kit is anything to write home about. But there's no other Avenger that does exactly what Ranmaru does, for that rarity NP type enemy selection, and so she's all very solid. And again, fucking 4-turn cooldown on a debuff cleanse. I remember when you had to, your only source of debuff cleanse was fucking the Atlas MC, which has a 12-turn cooldown.
Ooh.
It's yeah, no, this is great. That I'm sure she's got a use in some challenge quest setups just for that, and also being immune to burn. So you will, I'm sure, find a use for her. Like I said, especially if you don't roll on certain banners, because I really don't know what people's Avenger selections are going to be like for our first Welfare Avenger, and our only Welfare Avenger so far, actually. Solid, useful, good. Not going to break your bank, but again, like, Arts is, at this point in FGO's, metagame space, Arts is basically cheating. The only way it could get more cheating is if she was Buster and had all skills have exactly 5-turn cooldowns. That's basically a sign that says, Koyan reloads here. Get your free cooldown reduction. So yeah, no, like I said, I don't think she's going to break anything, but there's no, like, glaring flaws in her kit. She's got some very slick animations that I really like. And obviously, she's the cutest. Have you seen her little face?
Cutest.
Her little cat smile? She's got the pointy teeth. It's great. But, with that out of the way, let's talk about final impressions for the story of Ryoma's Narrow Escape. Because there's a decent amount of, back-end stuff to be happening we can talk about.
Mm-hmm.
We get a quite lengthy Okuni flashback in there somewhere. She was volunteered to train as a shrine maiden.
We use volunteer in the loosest.
Yes.
I
use volunteered as a euphemism.
Actually makes me think of her story kind of makes me think of the one and only one Peppercino and his family.
Yeah. I'm wondering were there any parallels there? There might have been.
Biggest parallel I knew is that they kidnapped children to use for their sacred rites, and kids really didn't really have a choice in it.
Yeah, so we learned that Okuni had a childhood friend, Ohana, Big Flower, but Ohana did a dumb and she let out a thing, and that was the Sakigami, who is mad. He was very mad.
So mad.
His general vibe when he's not possessing somebody is he's just kind of a blob guy.
A blob guy with an orb face.
Yeah. He's
sucks.
He's just kind of out there. So,
this is actually something I need a little bit of clarification for.
Yes.
So, it comes out that Zanzaburo was made from a god's husk. Were they talking about the giant god Nobus from fucking, I can't think of, Yamatai Koku?
Thank you. I also lost it. I was like, I know this one.
Nope, I didn't. Because, I do believe they mentioned storms. I do believe someone mentioned later that it seemed very familiar. So I'm a little wondering if, like, it was made from the Hanawa of the Storm Nobu's corpse, or was it actually made from some weird other thing? Like,
so as far as I can tell, because I did do the research as much of this on Wanted. There's no specificity in what god's shell is supposed to be Zanzabuto.
Mm-hmm.
In her own like internal profile translations, Okuni tells the story that could be of Zanzaburo, that he was supposed to be a heroic god who put down all evil until he was eventually betrayed by the people he saved. But that's like literally every fucking good character in Fate ever.
It's true.
If you are a selfless hero, you will be, destroyed by the people you save eventually. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure it isn't supposed to be Ares or Golden Bear because he was a god who was there. He was like around in Japan. If he looks like those divine armors, that would probably be because Okuni did modify him, to suit her needs. But yeah, that story I said about that god ends with, this could be the story of Zanzaburo. So, like, even Okuni's own, like, documentation doesn't exactly explain if that's true or not. So, it could be, a reference to the old Hanawa shells or not. It feels kind of, like, loose, and I don't know, I'm gonna assume that we deliberately wrote it to be kind of ambiguous.
Probably.
But yeah, no, Amano Sakagami, aka Amano Jaku, who is not super well written about, but is like a guy who can, like, pretend to be people and is very common in pop culture as just kind of a generic evil deity. So, he's round. Amano Jaku. But that we used him as a goop man, and he apparently has the power to, possess people and make their dark desires manifest. So it turns out that, Okuni was connected to the plot all along because it's Ryoma who is possessed by Sakagami, and that's why he's acting strange. So it's like, it's so many layers and layers and layers and layers and layers of betrayal. Like, we raid the headquarters of the Kino party, and that's when Sakagami reveals himself as having possessed Ryoma, and he's also been working with Takasugi the whole time.
Yeah.
And it's like, I totally expected this. You said you were the evil mastermind.
Yeah, no, I believed him when he said it.
Yeah. Sadly for Takechi-sensei, he did not. But that does mean we still get to see some good payoff. Takechi gets very badly fucked up when Sakagami turns just a littlest crumb of Shinbei's resentment against him into an attack. It's okay. Shinbei kind of comes back and does his, again, Shinbei can apparently ki-eye so loud he can explode.
You can't see it. I am nodding vigorously.
Yeah.
It was a pretty cool scene.
Yeah. No, honestly, all the stuff that happens in there is really cool. I think I talked about it last week because that was where I was. But there's a moment when, Ranmaru runs ahead and you find the altar where they're keeping Nobu's head in a box, and they just play, the really spooky music from Heian-kyo, and I'm just like, whoa, we completely flipped the vibe here. But, yeah, so, that's how, Takechi kind of ends up on our side. We get to hear the whole story. This, I don't know the exact details of this Grail War, but it sounds nasty, because you've got Lancer Ryoma, you've got Takechi Sensei, you've got Takasugi, who is an archer, I think is his class normally. That's what he is when you summon him, right? I think he is. Ranmaru was there as normal proper human history Ranmaru, whose NP was Nobu's head. Okuni was the caster. I think there were some other guys who got taken out, but it was just super messy. Ryoma got possessed by Sakagami, and all kinds of stuff going on. Shinbei was there, so he was an assassin probably from the start. I think he was summoned originally. So it's just interesting to hear them kind of piece this all together. But so they're gonna write the course of history by enacting the Kishin project and creating a new god to run everything, because humans can't be trusted to run anything.
I agree with him, but there's just this whole thing about being backstabbed and that fucking weird-ass evil thing over there that I gotta slap,
Well, and also this I think is very particular because it's, and this is the reason why, if you ever wondered why Ryoma, turns down all that stuff at the end, too, when he gets past the spear and it's just nah. That goes very strongly against Sakamoto Ryoma's actually, established political philosophy.
Yes.
When he wrote the eight letters on shipboard and stuff, he was a big admirer of, American and UK style representative democracy. He wanted to catapult Japan into being a parliamentary system, which did eventually happen.
Yeah.
I think he was quoted directly as saying he was a big fan of the Declaration of Independence's line about all men being created equal.
Yep.
So that would totally be against his own ideas of oh, we're just gonna build a big fancy god machine to solve all this. And also building the big fancy god machine involved sucking everybody's magical energy out of them through the magic energy reactors.
Yeah, that wasn't cool.
No. There's no point in having a nation and guiding it if you have no people. It doesn't work like that.
It really doesn't.
So yeah, there's a lot of back and forth, I think, philosophically we get here. And then we get we got Okuni backstory. We got, Lancer Ryoma backstory, kind of identifying that this, by the way, is something I want to point out is weird in terms of how fate usually works. Because yes, you're only supposed to have one primary noble phantasm, but the thing about the writer class is it's supposed to be their special thing that they get lots of noble phantasms. So I don't know necessarily why Ryoma is supposed to be exclusive between the two, and maybe this is why it makes sense that he eventually just says, "Nah, man, I don't play by those rules. Both, porque los dos." But there is supposed to be this split between the manifestations of him. And as we've discussed, we have some of his letters. There is actually a mountain where allegedly Ryoma went to on his honeymoon.
Yep.
And there was a big spear in the ground, and people didn't pick up the spear because it's supposed to be, the spear of reversing heaven. And he was just like, "Hey, check this out." Yoink. And he wrote a letter about it to his sister. He was like, "Hey, I pulled the spear out of the ground." It was funny. He apparently put it back because the spear was still there to be partially damaged in a volcanic eruption in the 1900s. I believe it's broken too, and the head of the spear was donated to a family and put in a shrine, but we've lost it. But to complete the mystery, the head did eventually get replaced. Nobody knows who did that. Just one day we went to go check up on the shaft, which was stuck in the mountainside, because that mountain is an active volcano, and we're just like, oh, shoot, the spearhead's back. Cool. This is, by the way, an actual hiking trail. If you don't mind hiking on an active volcano, if you go to Japan, you can actually go to this site.
There's so many places I would love to go. So many!
I mean, there's loads of places. I mean, like, just doing the research for, like, you know, Ryoma's Wanted, like, they named the airport in Kochi after him. There's a museum to him in Kochi. The fucking Taradaya Inn is like a tourist trap now. They've replicated the building structure, including with, like, fake sword slashes and bullet holes. Because that was the famous incident where Ryoma did fucking draw down on some lads with his gun and also his sword. No, Ryoma's a baller. I've got my Lancer Ryoma set to randomized dissension because all of his looks are real good.
They are. Also, all of Oreo-san's looks are real good. I love her jacket, though.
Yes, no. Paco Sensei be cooking.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a lot of good stuff there. But yeah, so, like, we find out, you know, this whole thing, and I feel like it's interesting, but the implication seems to be that, like, Ryoma was supposed to be, like, he was supposed to, like, pick up the spear and turn into a heaven-sent figure to, like, guide Japan.
Yeah.
With Oreo as kind of, like, his guardian spirit, but he was just like, nah, I got other stuff to do. I'm gonna go drive boats. This spear's cool. You know what also is cool? Smith & Wesson.
Well, I think it's the idea that, well, because that's the thing, like, it doesn't come up with a lot, but, like, the Emperor of Japan and stuff, you know, technically follows the divine mandate, you know? And so I took it as Ryoma, you know, tossing away and say it's almost that Gilgamesh moment of turning to walk away from the gods. You know, let man take their own path. Ugh. That's the way I looked at it, at least. And yeah, no, Ryoma was completely a frickin', you know, a Western boo, I guess I want to say. He was actually very fond of leather boots, Western leather boots. He wore those all the time. He said carried a gun. He got
one of his famous photos is one I used for The Wanted, which is him wearing the full samurai getup top to bottom, except he's got Western shoes on.
Yeah.
Because they were comfy.
Like, he thought, you know, Western ships were the coolest fucking thing ever, so he literally bought one. Freaking, he got blown away by a globe. Like, honestly, that was the big thing. I can't remember the official he was going to kill, but
Katsu was his surname, I think?
I believe so. But Katsu was like, yo, check out this globe, and showed Ryoma how small Japan was on this, and Ryoma was just like, what?
Also, by the way, once again, talking about Ryoma's, you know, crazy adventures, he planned to assassinate, you know, the Commodore of the Tokugawa Navy, like, because they're organizer, because Japan did not have a proper professional navy at this point.
They did not.
But he talked to this guy, and this guy was like, hey, you think modernization sucks? You're wrong. Modernization is cool. Look at these Western boats. They would totally wreck our shit. We need cool boats. And Ryoma was like, you know what? You're right.
Like I said, no, Ryoma Sakamoto really is kind of was the protagonist of that time. He did so much wild shit. I mean, this is why I think
assassination attempts. He survived.
He helped broker the alliance between Saitama and
Choshu. Yeah, the
Choshu
alliance. Ducked out a couple of times. I mean, the ditching Tosa, even though it was super illegal because the Kinoto party was just interested in revolutionizing Tosa, and Ryoma was like, no, we can help all of Japan. He was sword training in Edo when the Black Ships incident occurred. That's kind of how he got radicalized. Also, by the way, another fun fact, he studied at the same dojo that Keisuke, I forget the something Nami. That guy, he trained at that dojo as well. They both went to the same school in Edo. Also, hey, if you guys didn't know, because I actually don't think Fate has brought it up, but here's another Ryoma fun fact for you. When Ryoma was assassinated, we've talked about this before, so we still don't know exactly who did it, but at the time, the Shinsengumi were blamed. And
yes.
Isami Kondo was actually executed on the charge of assassinating Sakamoto Ryoma, which I think is funny that, like, Fate doesn't comment on that one a lot.
They commented a little bit in Yamatai Koku, if I remember correctly.
They mentioned it as an aside, but it feels like something that, you know, almost could be a bigger deal, but they're just like, nah, we've got so much other shit to worry about. But yeah, so, Ryoma takes the spear back from himself and breaks it. He does his last temptation thing and gets yeeted into the deep, dark abyss.
Mm-hmm.
A funny voice talks to him about what to do, and the voice is like, hey, you want a dragon or you want a spear? And Ryoma's like, dibs. Both. Also, by the way, okay, so...
well, actually, if I want to say, he kind of said neither. He just wanted to, stay there.
Yeah. He rejects all gifts and is like, nah, man, I'm cool. I'm good with whatever happens. And that's, the secret test of character. But so, I don't know where they actually clarified this, but this conversation is really interesting. So, I dig into this again in the Ryoma one, and if you want more details, you should get to it. But, it seems like what Fate does is Fate actually conflates Oryo with Hiruko, Izanagi and Izanami's first child, who was, according to some legends, born without arms and legs.
Oh,
now commonly, Hiruko is supposed to have washed up in Izo and become the god Ebisu, but also Ebisu was probably already established as a god of fishermen.
Yeah.
So this means that when that figure, calls Oryo their daughter, that's one of the big eyes. That's got to be Izanagi or Izanami. I assume it's Nagi because otherwise, listen, Izanami's still a little annoyed about that thing that one time.
Yeah, might be, still trapped in the underworld behind a rock, cursing her husband.
Yes, killing a lot of humans per day.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so, that's not really stated in the text that we see in the event, so I don't know exactly where that source is, but that's very interesting to, why she is an Orochi, a guardian snake spirit, not a full-blown dragon, that she is related to Dragonkin, and kind of, becoming the guardian god of the sacred mountain and tied to the spear and stuff. It makes sense, but it's kind of obscured, but also, really neat world building there. Also, that would kind of make sense, if Ryoma was supposed to be this kind of, heaven-sent figure, because that would put, Oryu in the same lineage as, Amaterasu and etc.
Mm-hmm.
This does, by the way, technically mean that Tamamo and Oryu are related. This is never commented on. Yo, actually, hold on a minute. Lasengo, you know what you should do for the new GudaGuda event? Put Tamamo in it.
I would love a Tamamo in it. Make, please, main character Tamamo. Let's go.
That'd be a great use of Tamamo. We've already tucked Tamamo into the Heian time period already with her little cameo in Heian Kyo, which was cute, but I do actually kind of like that they didn't try to hijack us with the Nine-Tailed Fox, at least. We kept to the story characters we were kind of dealt, but we could use more Tamamo. We could always use more Tamamo.
I agree with this wholeheartedly.
We've already got, you have to give Tamamo her super special, super mega upgrade, because, we already got, Mother Harlot.
This is actually
Tamamo.
super true. Can we get a Beast Amaterasu? I would love that.
I feel like that one is probably something they have, not a lot, because, we already have, Okami, where Amaterasu is literally a wolf, but they probably have to play that presentation a little safer in Japan than they do with, the Christian concept of the beast.
True enough.
I do know that they did have to make an edit to Goldford White-Faced Fox, because originally, I can't remember, was it Nasu who wanted the art design that way, or was it What Arco drew the concept that way? But originally, Giant Tamamo was supposed to be Naked Apron. But then they were like, okay, that might be pushing it a little too far.
Oh, that's probably why Tomacat has a Naked Apron.
Yeah, it's a development gag.
I think I've heard this before. I don't remember that.
There's a lot of stories about Fate, and there's a lot of things that are kind of taken at common value. But yeah, so there's a lot going on with Oryu's backstory we don't get into, but they get to come back. It's super cute. It's fucking adorable. Literally the power of love.
The power of love! I love it.
Yeah, it's rad. We get to beat up an Arabaki. Good to see that guy show up. I think this is our first Arabaki.
Yep. Aramakis are weird.
Yeah, they are. Big fucking weirdos.
Unfortunately, I don't think I have... I just know they exist. Unfortunately, I don't think I have anything really concrete to really say over at this point. You fight, you win, you get back, you go back, and it's oh, you gotta do it, everything, you gotta go slap more shit.
Yeah. We get AI Taketsugi. I will say, I put this in my one actual bullet point note, is I understand now why we wanted Seminole Taketsugi.
Yeah.
He's a bad guy, but he's cool. He's fun.
Affable evil.
Yeah.
I believe the trope is called.
Yes.
He's a bad guy, but gosh darn it, isn't he just sweet?
Mm-hmm. And Okuni stays behind to, do the equivalent of the guys going down with the band going down with the boat in Titanic. Has him bust out his shamisen and do a dance. That also, by the way, is actually historically attested. Okuni was revolutionary for her inclusion of the shamisen music in the kabuki performance. That was one of the ways that she revolutionized the art forms.
Yeah.
New instrumentation. It's great. I love all these little notes, and I love that by doing Wanteds, I get to pick up on some of this stuff. Watch Wanted. There's so much more facts. I have so many Ryoma fun facts. And I'm compressing, by the way. I compressed a lot. That's right. I just said that the 20-minute part of the script that was like, just history was like 3 pages long. I compressed that. I was like, I gotta like, try not to over-expand here. This video has to end sometime. But all in all, no, it's a great fucking GudaGuda event. I'm super hopeful we'll get something of similar quality out of JP this year. Which I'm sure we will, but it'll be interesting to see them kind of like, rotate their time periods, because last year's GudaGuda event was EO, so kind of like a return to the Yamatai Koku frame, right? So I wonder, will we get I guess we got our 3 triangles, right? We've got ancient ass Japan, we've got Sengoku, and we've got Meiji, or late Bafuku period kind of a thing.
I kind of wrapped that like pre-Meiji registration kind of in the same timeline.
I mean, it is like the Bakufu period like dovetails into the actual Meiji restoration. Like technically, Ryoma did live long enough to see what is what we call the start of the restoration, because he helped broker the final shogun to step down, but he was assassinated very shortly after, so he never got to see the payoff. But yeah, no, it's those seem to be our major like pinpoints for GudaGuda stories. We do occasionally have references to other time periods, but I'll be interested to see what we get. I mean, obviously, if we're hoping for Osaka Castle and Lady Yoda, we're looking for maybe more of a Sengoku time. But there's lots of other characters we can scoop up into that. Also, we literally put the fucking Shinsengumi in Yamatai Koku, so like we're not afraid to get weird. Weird is good. Also, by the way, I know we talked about it being like a lot of, I feel like there were a lot of FF7 references, but also parts of this were straight up an Evangelion reference. The big box with 01 and kind of like the undercroft of the city with the giant robot in it.
Yeah.
And the robot is religion.
The robot is religion.
I mean, it is. It's a god robot.
Oh, I just never thought of it that way.
I know it's I think the Ava stuff is a little more subtle.
Yeah,
but there's some visual references there, so it's pretty fun. Much like it's pretty fun that we summoned all our allies and Mash's conch shell came back.
She is our chief retainer.
She was very excited to do that. Yeah, that was a great moment when everybody comes back to beat the shit out of the reactors, and Okuni gets her like big moment with the bounded field. All in all, no, very top tier event, great stuff. A very highly ranked GudaGuda, I would say. It's very Guda. Okay, all right. We've been talking for like an hour and a half.
Woo,
that's probably about as far as we can go. That. Leave your thoughts on the GudaGuda and the characters you like down below in the comments. So that means it's time to transition to the what's up pivot. I mean, do we need to contain the Scott Pilgrim talk any further, or do we just want to go there?
We can just go there. If you guys haven't watched Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, now streaming on Netflix, you should go watch it. Lucky has watched it. Lucky says you should go watch it. It is good. Yeah.
But yeah, so Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. I mean, if we're going all in. I mentioned briefly last week there is a first episode twist.
Yarp.
Which does seem to be, some places are advertising it, but I do kind of feel like talking about it in a vacuum sometime. But there's a reason we should say that it's called Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, as in goes away.
Yes.
I said the quiet part out loud. Yeah. So the first episode is a pretty good 1-to-1, like not literally 1-to-1, but like the scene structure flows very much like the first volume of the comic, and how the movie handled the equivalent plot arc up to the fight with Matthew Patel. There are still some extra bits that are in there that are very funny.
Matthew Patel.
I like Gideon pitching that we need to go after Scott Pilgrim to Maddie, and the talking about we get some extra exposition with Scott's relationship with Knives there. They've never kissed. They've held hands once. Man, I thought we were evil. we go really hard on listen. There are some people I think on the internet who take Scott, who's 23, dating a 17-year-old, too far. They're quote-unquote dating. He calls it dating. They're not really dating.
No.
As
And honestly,
Gideon says, they've held hands. Sorry, I was just reiterating the earlier point. Gideon says they've held hands once and never kissed. Like, the relationship is very loosey-goosey.
Honestly, I feel like they're weird because people like to give Kim Pine, who's only 1 year younger than Scott Pilgrim, who gets blackout drunk with knives, and they sloppily make out.
Yes. If you ever wondered why Kim has that special ability to get healing from knives in the game, it's because in the comic, while Knives is still 17, she and Kim both get absolutely shit-faced and do make out during summer break.
So it's just one of those things of all like, why is everyone so like? No, it's not necessarily right because Knives is 17 and is.
Also, Scott is, even if he wasn't like 6 years older, Scott is a much experienced in relationships. Like, he's Knives, I think, says in the comic she's never had a boyfriend before at all, whereas like Scott has dated quite a lot of people at different levels of maturity. His as he refers to it, the big X is a fucking superstar.
Envy Adams. But going into it, I just want to talk about it. I love, overall, I love this because it takes something from literally each piece of media of Scott Pilgrim comes from foreign, and then some additional jokes. Like, we have the art style of the graphic novel, we have the voice cast of the movie, we have the music from the video game, and we also have some other jokes. It comes later, but the musical was a response to people talking to O'Malley about what's next and joking about them having a musical. There's certain scenes that are completely just referenced from other bits. In the movie, the scene I was in the final 2 episodes. I can't remember which one it was exactly, but Scott just takes a moment to slowly tie his shoes. That's just ripped straight from the fucking movie, and I'm just like, I love everything about this. It's so good.
But they do their own thing, because thematically, for instance, Scott's conversation with Ramona at the party is, I think, different in every piece of media. In the original comic, because I've just reread the first volume, like I said, I did a little read-along party to test that out. Need to experiment with, I think, the stage channel feature on Discord a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Play around that, but so far I find Discord events to be very satisfactory, so look forward to trying to do some planning there. But in the original comic, he just is like, "Hi, how you doing? Are you real? And Ramona's just like, "What, dude?" And then Scott's like, "I'm never gonna talk. Thank you. I'm never gonna talk to you again forever. Bye." Now, admittedly, you might think that he's totally being a weirdo on her. No, Ramona blushes and looks away too. She's she obviously thinks he's being weird, but not in a creepy way, but just oh wow. And then later when she delivers his CDs, which became DVDs for Netflix, which is very funny. But when in that scene, that's when she's like, "Oh, you weren't just talking. Okay, I'm really embarrassed that I've been shortcutting through your dreams." In the movie, Scott has a conversation about Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man, and in the anime, he has a conversation about the 2 Sonic cartoons, which I don't know if they intended it to be a meta joke about their own voice cast, but the fact that they talked about one guy doing the 2 different Sonic tones when it's you've got the English voice cast doing arguably 2 very different reads at points.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. Also, the Sonic thing comes back. We get Super Ramona.
I love Super Ramona.
No, that's pretty cool. But yeah, like you said, so there are some shots which are 1-to-1, reflections of the comic panels in motion. There is an official colorized version of the comic that came later that has a very similar, tone to how the anime is colorized. And O'Malley's art style goes really well with Studio Sorrow's animation. It flows really well. There are some parts with I feel some of the face shots get a little extra anime, but mostly they're on point.
Well, I do think some of them were actually intentional. I do remember there is one where Ramona turns around and she has the actual anime eyes, but I think that is fully for effect.
Yes, that's just supposed to be Scott vision.
Yeah.
Speaking of Ramona animation, though, I'm so glad they did the once an episode bit where she dyes her hair.
I love that so much.
It's so, it's different every time because it's a different color, but there's such regularity to it, and then it does the fog up the mirror, wipe it off, see your face transition, and then we go into the episode and oh, this is good.
It's just it's the start of every day.
Yeah. And also I linked, there's there's a sequence that may be a reference to the possible connection between Kim and Knives, because they have that song where, because Scott appears to be dead at the end of the first episode. He vanishes into coins.
Yep.
Which, by the way, so to talk about like the pushback a little, I think there are some people who just watched through the first episode and were like, "Oh, this isn't a straight adaptation of the comic I wanted. I am upset now," and then left it. If you are one of those people, I do heartily encourage you to watch it through to the end, because, like, if you are aware of the previous media, you should know that there's a subtle hint that something's not right here. When Scott dies, he becomes a corpse, because Scott gets killed in both the movie and the comic. He doesn't explode into coins. So, like, you should know that, like, even if this was actually happening, something weird is happening here. And I think it does a decent job to, like, wrap back around.
I think so. I would actually call Scott Pilgrim Takes Off a sequel, and I also like to call it Scott Pilgrim My Golden Ending.
Yeah.
Because taking Scott out of the picture does something very interesting for just about everybody, I want to say.
It forms kind of a domino effect.
It really does. Because with Matthew Patel kicking Scott's ass, he gets this big confidence boost, goes back to fucking, G-Man's corporation, be all like, I should be in charge. I am Matthew Patel.
And also he has the drive to do that reorg because he realizes that the League is fundamentally flawed. Why the fuck would Ramona want to date them if they killed the guy she's actually interested in?
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
And that adds Gideon Graves, and then all this other shit starts happening. Oh my god, it's so good. Like, if you want to say, like, the original was kind of about Scott finding himself, it is about Scott finding himself, but when you think about it, him finding himself in the original is kind of weird. I don't necessarily know if he actually becomes that much of a better person.
I think at the end of the comic he does, but it's a much more trixier road there. Like, it's important to note that the way that the movie and the comic phrase it is a little different, but Scott's ultimate power-up is, in the comic, the sort of self-understanding. Like, the whole arc in the comics of Scott coming to grips with himself is him realizing, like, oh, no more bullshitting myself. I understand who I am, where I am in life, what's going on with me. And that means I can be in a good spot to be in this relationship. Funny enough, in the comic, Scott does get the power of love at first, but then, Gideon steals it. What a dick. But then Ramona pops out and she gets the power of love because her, like, climax of the arc is realizing, oh, wait, no, I do actually like Scott. Like, even though I'm bad at relationships and I fucking run away all the time, I do actually love this doofus and I should, be invested in this relationship. And Scott, like, understands himself. And in the movie, Scott gets the power of self-respect, where he realizes, like, hey, wait a minute. I'm doing this for me. I believe in myself. And I want to say that, like, it's interesting that Scott doesn't hit those power-ups and doesn't have to like, complete this narrative in the anime.
No, he just... I guess... No, we've been here for a while. If you're still listening to us talk about, we're gonna. What happens to Scott is he gets taken to the future by future Scott, and he sees future Toronto, and kind of they don't necessarily say it out loud, but Scott kind of realizes that he really doesn't go anywhere in life.
Yeah, he does say later, because, like, at one point, even older Scott comes back as the final boss with the power of every evil X and Scott. Also with Nega Scott's boss music from the game. But he comes back, and it turns into just, Ramona and Scott, young Ramona and Scott versus even older Scott. And Ramona at one point is, like, almost about to give up the fight. She's just like, do I really want to fight so hard for you to just turn into that guy? And Scott's like, do you think I want to turn into that guy? Like, it's just one line, but it's enough to let you know that, like, yes, young current timeline Scott has realized there's a problem here and perhaps could do something to fix it.
Like, and also earlier, like, because one of the things they do, like, shout out to the Katayanaga twins and Robot 1 for actually being the secret VIPs of the show.
And also, anything that Robot 01 does in the current timeline is actually Scott kidnapped in the future piloting him, too.
Yeah.
So Scott's involved a lot in the story, just in weird little subtle ways you don't pick up on at first.
But, like, I call it a sequel because older Scott comes from the original where he beats all 7 X's and has a, personally, what I want to call, like, I don't understand everyone else's answer, but in U.S. standards has a fairly successful relationship. Apparently they were married for 12 years before they hit a rough patch. And apparently that was enough for Scott to go, back to his after Envy Adams days, which I guess is the best way to put it.
Yes, his bad breakup time.
Yeah. Apparently, according to Remote...
I believe it's 10 years also because Scott Pilgrim is not super autobiographical, but there are elements of Brian Lee O'Malley's life in there. His girlfriend, then wife, who was a heavy influence on Ramona, they got divorced after about 10 years. So I think there is a little bit of that kernel of the realness to this.
Mm-hmm.
But also, O'Malley kind of like, when writing Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, does kind of like spin it into a more positive way of like, hey, if we could go back in time, we could actually like approach this in a more mature way.
But so they hit their rough patch, and guess what? Scott has moved in with frickin' Wallace again.
Old Wallace, the Silver Fox, whose husband works at Nintendo, where they make the video games.
And finds out that he beat the X's and that they're having this rough spot, and Scott's very, what's the word I want to say? I want to use the word in denial about him doing anything wrong. And even like, original Scott's like, what?
Basically, I think some people have theorized this. In the end of the comic, Gideon doesn't show this a lot in either version, but he has access to the glow, which is kind of like a psychological attack thing. In the comic, Ramona and Scott both get hit with the glow and kind of like lose track of what the fuck they're doing. They're like, why the fuck are we fighting this guy so hard? Don't we suck? But they get over it a little. But it makes you kind of like forget your character flaws for a second. And it feels like future Scott and Ramona forget their character development for a little bit. Like Ramona asks for some space and like gets some distance, and Scott just kind of like accepts it, and neither of them is good at confrontation. That's kind of their problem. Scott is not good at like confronting things head on. That's why in the original stories, the thing with knives like gets kind of bad because Scott can't just own up and break it off, right?
Right.
And as we've seen in many flashbacks, Ramona's problem is that she just dips out of relationships all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of like forget this moment, and they both get kind of like that. And like you said, young Scott even looks at this and is like, yeah, I feel like you guys probably should have done something more about this. Yeah, and I do like that they don't frame it as like future Ramona is completely blameless either. Like,
no, you don't actually figure out what exactly happened. They never explain it. They just say, they had a rough patch. Scott is just being a bit more of a child about it.
Yes. And that's not to say, like I said, that future Ramona doesn't have her own version of their crazy, stupid plan, because she's like, I've figured out that future you will kidnap you and try and break us up. He'll try and alter the timeline. So what I did was I took young Neil's memoir and turned it into a movie script and sent it back in time. And I love Scott's reaction to this. So he's like, so you're telling me that you think that future me is going to break me up with Ramona. I'm going to go back to the past. I'm going to break up. And then I'm just going to be minding my own business and then watch a movie inspired about our romance, and I'm going to want to make it work? And Ramona's like, listen, I'm not telling you it's a flawless plan, but...
I'm sorry, my immediate thought is like, shouldn't you just go talk to older me?
Yeah.
About this? Nah, doesn't necessarily work. But, like, this, like, and during this whole time, Scott basically... the fucking virtual Game Boy. Why?
The virtual guy with 2 U's.
Basically hooks it up to Robot 1 so he can go in the past and see how Ramona is doing through all this, because guess what? Even though Scott has gone, life has to go on, and it does. Like, if I love this series not just because of Scott's Ramona's relationship, but what it does to all the other evil exes. I wouldn't necessarily say that Ryoma goes fights everyone and each of them gets their catharsis and move on moment, but something happens to each one of them that changes their their way of life from what they were doing.
She has to basically so episode 2. We can approach this in a slightly. It's though with time travel involved, it's hard to be linear, but
it is.
We can approach this in a slightly more linear perspective. So the first episode 1 ends. Scott is dead, as far as anybody knows. It sucks. This is when Matthew Patel realizes that, like, wait, killing Ramona's current beau won't fix anything. I should be in charge. But also this is when we have Scott's funeral, which is an amazing series of events.
I do want to mention they did actually get the singer. Oh God, what was her name?
It's Emily something, but she's the singer for Metric, which is again, O'Malley's always been very upfront on where he's based characters.
Yeah.
Scott's sister, Stacy Pilgrim, is literally named after his actual sister, Stacy, which is something he said that he kind of wishes he'd given her a different name at least, because it's a little too on the nose. But, like, yes, it's been very strongly indicated that Envy is based on the lead singer for Metric, which is why, the movie and a little bit the anime uses Black Sheep, which is a song by Metric.
Mm-hmm.
But they got her to actually be Envy's singing voice and sing a version of I Will Remember You. This is a great intro to Envy, by the way, considering that, like, she's just been alluded to in episode 1. She rolls up in her giant limo. She's, dressed in one of her ludicrous outfits. She walks up and is just like, yes, even though he was a tiny chapter of the book of my life, I'm still very sad. Scott Pilgrim has died. Allow me to dedicate this to him. And then does a fucking pop number and everybody goes crazy.
I just love how later, like, Ramona's like, yeah, I saw her. She was incredibly hot.
Yes. Well, that's another thing that in general, because that kind of, like, goes into the flow of, like, why Ramona realizes she needs to, like, speak with every of her evil exes. But Roxy ends up introduced in the story much earlier, because she's number 4 normally, but she comes out second and is straight up just like, 4's just a number, baby. But no longer do we allude to the relationship she had with Ramona as, like, a phase.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like that's kind of a thing that just in general, that's not how we phrase that anymore. Like, you can be experimental in college, but we don't really, like, you don't think of as, like as Scott jokes about the movie, a sexy phase. So, like, I think we're pretty much just explicitly pitching that Ramona is bi. She's only dated one woman, but she is bi, and she can say Envy's hot.
Yeah.
Also, again, very firmly stancing that Kim is also probably bi, because she makes out with a woman. It's just a different one. Many people on the internet are very interested in this scene.
It's a good scene, because before that happens, Ramona wakes up to basically
She
hearing
basically has her reverse version of the dream Scott has about her.
Yeah. Hears it out, and she's all like, maybe he's not dead. She goes to the rocket and is just like, let me see your video, and finds out that there was a portal that took Scott and threw the coins out before he left. So she's all like, all right, who the heck it could have, pulled this off? And she starts going through a list.
She builds this list first by talking to Julie Powers, which is a great scene. Scott's not dead. You're fucking with me. Stacey, I'm taking my 15. What do you mean? You took your 15 20 minutes ago.
Stop swearing, we're got fucking customers.
And then one guy is like, hey, I ordered a cold Americano. This is a hot Americano. Then put some fucking ice cubes in it. Julie's great in this. We did a lot to expand Julie as a character, and the show is better for it.
Oh, I think so as well. Especially later.
We'll get that later when we get to that. Because, like I said, every evil ex has, like, a life-changing thing go on, even if it's not directly related to, like, Ramona confronting them. But Julie says, okay, if you want to find out more about Scott, you need to go to his first ex. Which, by the way, I should say, in episode 2, I was very curious because we brought Kim in, we brought Knives in, we brought Ramona, we brought Envy in early. I was like, are we going to, like, get a reverse evil order of Scott's exes? We don't do that, but food for thought.
Food for thought.
But Julie says, then you got to go talk to Kim Pine. She's the one who dated Scott first. And we get, kind of a Kim-focused episode. She goes to the back for a few more scenes, but, we get to go to the video place where Scott has an enormous bill.
Banned forever.
Most wanted. I think they doubled the amount of money he owes from the video game, because you can actually pay Scott's late fees in the video game to buy power-ups at the video store, and it's like $500. I think it's like he owes like $1,000 Canadian dollars at this. It's growing all the time.
It's growing.
Pay back your fucking bill. Anyway, so yeah, she has a conversation with Kim Pine about their relationship with Scott. It's interesting that Kim gives Scott's version of their romantic backstory, where the comic straight up says that Scott filled in a lot of blanks there. He did not actually fight like a gazillion dudes. But I also don't know if Kim is fucking with Ramona or not.
Oh, maybe she just... Kim's very jaded, but, a dude did go fight an entire fucking school for her,
Yeah, but I also wonder if, like, her comment about that is not, like recalling Scott's version, which I'm sure has come up. And she still says that their relationship ended very sadly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because in the original story, first of all, talking about Scott's non-confrontation, he's not even, able to gumption up enough to tell Kim directly. He tells their friend Lisa Miller, who doesn't show up in the animation, except maybe it's like a cameo. You might see her in the music scenes at the back, the musical scenes. She might be in the audience, but he moves away to Toronto, and that's how he breaks it off with Kim, his high school girlfriend. So like it is kind of like a sad breakup. Is Kim over it? I don't know. She seems to put her rage into her drumming, which is something she says.
By the way, you posted the music for him. I do love Kim and Knives' drumming, bass and drum session. It is so good.
Yeah, because this is a thing that happens at the funeral, but Knives shows up wearing Scott's jacket, his Xavier school jacket. And she gets a little angry at Ramona, but nobody else is into it, and Envy shows up and breaks it all up anyway. But, like, Kim's grieving process, because like you said, everybody has to go through these character arcs. Kim doesn't really do much different. Knives, on the other hand, starts, like, trying to, like, find out how she can, like, connect to Scott even though he's gone. She also gets his bass. And turns out she's very musically talented. They do this little jam session, where she's, like, just poking it away, because Steven Stills is very freaked out about, oh my god, the band, what are we going to do? We've lost our bassist.
We'll never know if we suck.
And then Kim has that line with just as Scott's understudy, and it's Knives just fucking prepping, and he's like, I don't know what to do, man. We're terrible. Ah! And he runs away. And then Kim's like, hey, you want to jam? And then they do this music bit that I linked, which is great, just a phenomenal little bit, and has a little bit of the Sparks in it.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Does that mean something? I don't know. But Steven Stills comes back and he's like, oh my god, you're amazing. How long have you been playing bass? And she says, what time is it? 4? 4 hours? She also picks up keyboard later, though I think that makes more sense because she's supposed to have she trained at piano.
Mm-hmm.
Also, by the way, very funny, another meta reference there. When Envy, as Natalie, was in Scott and Steven Stills' band with like 5 other people. They had a huge band in college. She played keyboard. Envy mostly sings now, but the keyboard is the instrument that she played. So it's very interesting that later Knives slots in as a keyboardist. It's interesting. They do lots of these little touches. But yeah, so like everybody's grieving in their own way, right? But Ramona goes to see Kim. Kim gives the backstory. And then Roxy shows up and has her, like, she actually fights with Ramona and has a big, like, knockdown, drag-out fight through movie sets, which is great. Never explained, just happens. Great shit. Love the shot where, like, Roxy gives Ramona, like, the side kick and, like, kicks her down the stairs, and then Kim in the real world rewinds the fucking shot. And we're just like, huh?
Nah, it was pretty fucking wild.
Yeah, really, really good animation and use of, like, playing with the space. But, like, this turns into a catharsis moment where, like, Ramona actually does something that she doesn't even really do in the comics, where she's just straight up like, hey, I'm sorry. We didn't leave on the best terms. That's my bad. I'm sorry about that.
Shout out to Roxy for immediately being like, apology accepted. I'm still going to kick your ass, though.
Yeah. And then at the end, Ramona's like, I'm going to count this as your win.
And then they have a girls' night out.
Yeah. But in addition to that being a great sequence, because, like, that is kind of a thing that, like, I think they do. Because, like, in the comic, Roxy is way more relaxed with Ramona. Even crashes on Ramona's couch for a little bit when Ramona and Scott are going through, like, a weird moment. But, like, she goes through all of this, and she's just in there. And this is, I think, where we get our first use of the phrase emotional business. Yeah. Because, like, one, I love that Roxy introduces herself as, like, I have something those boys don't have, emotional intelligence. And then Ramona's like, so do you want to talk about your feelings? And Roxy's like, I would rather fight. But, Roxy's very, very pushy. She's just like, hey, are we friends? Are we friends with benefits? And Ramona's like, no, I got unresolved business with this. And of course, Roxy turns to Kim and is like, hey, how about you?
I love how Kim
first is like, I'm not, fuck it. Goes for it. Shout out to Roxy Richter. Goes for the leg lock.
Yeah.
And has what is animated as a very hot and heavy makeout, but it lacks that spark, that special something. And so just like, no sparks. Guess it's not in the cards. And then Roxy says what the internet all believes. Hey, when does your hot coworker get back?
But then she just leaves. I can't remember the song, but she's like, dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. It's like, she feels like, it sounds like she feels a lot better about her life.
It's Whistle Stop from the Disney animated Robin Hood.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it's a famous little whistle. But that's the moment where, like, scratch Kim Pine off the list, scratch Roxy Richter, and then Ramona goes, shit, I'm gonna have to do this with everybody. And that becomes the overarching plot arc is Ramona has to get her detective on, which is subtly indicated because this is an original thing, right? Never mentioned anywhere else. When she has that conversation with Scott in the party, Scott's like, I guess you didn't watch a lot of Sonic. And she's like, no, I watched Columbo.
Columbo! Yeah!
And then Julie has a Columbo reference later. This is very interesting to me. I wonder if O'Malley intended this, or if this is just because Japan fucking loves Columbo. Like, they do. Like, Columbo's really popular over there. So, like, I don't know, like, whose idea that was, whether it was the Japan side or the Canada side. But it works out really well to set up that, like, Ramona's got to go on this detective trip, and she's got to figure this all out. So, like, she just starts, taking names going down the line. It's Lucas Lee next. Oh, and we've talked about it off mic before, but the opening to, I think it's episode 4, whatever, which is, like, the Lucas Lee focused episode. It's so good, because it uses United States of whatever as our backing track, while Lucas Lee just does Hollywood shit. It's so good. The fucking intro shot when they're building up, where he goes through his mansion, he picks out his skateboard. You see the broken one, and you're like, clearly this is important. But he just puts on his sunglasses, the curtains open up, he's on his mansion, which is on top of another mansion.
And he just says, whatever.
And then it just goes, and it's like, oh, it's so good. But yeah, we go through all this kind of stuff. They're filming a Scott Pilgrim's Precious Little Life movie based off the script by Young Neil.
Shout out to Young Neil for being very important, yet not important. He's just there, being Young Neil.
Kind of a guy. He also talks about his sleep paralysis demon, which I do feel like is a slightly out of place reference. I don't think anybody was talking about that in 2004, but it's funny, so I'll let it go.
Who knows? Maybe Young Neil could just be ahead of his time.
Could be. Oh, though that's very funny. Later at the end of this episode, Lee gets fired from the movie, and he's just like, "I'm like a TV show that's no longer on the air. Damn, I wish I had a word for that." Canceled. The word is canceled you're looking for, but we don't have that word yet. It's great. Also, shout out to Chris Evans.
Oh my god.
10 out of 10. No notes. He commits to doing his Lucas Lee, hey, I'm Lucas Lee voice the entire time, and it's perfect.
No, it reminds me of a time before Lucas Lee got really pigeoned into that Marvel superhero role.
We got Captain America.
Yeah. Like, I remember Chris Evans from before those times when he was in, Not Another Teen movie. He was in The Losers and stuff like that.
I'm a big fan of Push.
Yep,
where he played telekinetic.
Stuffed himself full of soy sauce at one point.
Yeah.
Injected that shit straight into his veins.
Yeah, no. Like, he... I mean, the movies weren't super great, but he was the, original Johnny Storm.
Yep, he was.
In those. And he was at the time, he was perfectly cast for it.
He was. This Lucas Lee is like, even in the movie, I would say I thought he was like perfect for it. I don't feel like he necessarily had the right build and face for it, but I like the voice that he did. Yeah. But putting it into an animated movie was, oh god, it just reminds me of those old times where he just did the weirdest comedy bits.
Yeah. And then there's a later joke where he's just like, the only gigs I can get now are in voice acting. Lucas Lee's live action or nothing, baby. It's just like, that's so very funny. That's so meta.
No, they have a few meta jokes here. Speaking of meta things, we didn't get to mention it, but shout out to the fucking special guests they got just to do little bits.
Oh yeah, 'cause this is one of their first cameos as well. Like, we already talked about the lead singer of Metric, but when Ramona tries to go to the studio where Lucas Lee's filming the movie, there's 2 security guards who are mysteriously British. Yes, that's Simon Pegg and Nick Frost.
Also, back in the previous episode with Kim Pine's flashback, young Scott was played by, was it Finn Wolfhard?
Yes, Finn Wolfhard.
Who
the general audience will know from Stranger Things and the It remake and the Ghostbusters sequel. He's in a lot of stuff. He's doing great. Also, I didn't bring this up before when I talked with you about that cameo, but also a pal of the game groups.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
In the music video for Danny Don't You Know, Finn plays young Denny Sexbang as well.
Ah, that's great.
So yeah, just fun little things to talk about. And it's interesting because that's a case where Finn is apparently a big fan of Scott Pilgrim and was really glad to get this role.
Yeah.
Also, I'd like to, at this moment, talk a little bit. Like, we've been singing the praises of the English cast, and they're very great. They're all killing it. But the show also has a very good Japanese dub. Lots of very funny things there. This is something I didn't know, but even older Scott, when he talks about AK fields, anti-kiss fields, that's Gendo Ikari. Yeah, they got his VA for that. Gideon is Tomikazu Seki, aka Gilgamesh. It's great. And Ramona is Faru's Ai, who we know from Fate as Sei Shonagon, but also she is Jolene Kujo in JoJo, and Tomikazu Seki was the bad guy of that season of JoJo as well. But also, I didn't know this until I read it later, Ai Faru's big fan of Scott Pilgrim. She actually used to wear and dye her hair in the style of Ramona. So, like,
her becoming Sei Shonagon makes more sense all of a sudden.
No. Like, we're just getting all kinds of these cute little cameo nods. So, like, it's so good that this was such a passion project for, like, everybody.
It makes me so happy.
Because, like, again, if you guys don't know the story of how this got made, they've actually been trying to make this since 2018. Science Saru went through Netflix to approach Brian Lee O'Malley, like, just after they'd finished working on Devilman Crybaby through Netflix. O'Malley really liked what they did with Devilman and was like, yeah, let's do it. And when they approached all the actors, basically all the actors said yes right away, which, keep in mind, this was 2018 for some of these people. Like, for, Chris Evans, Brie Larson, kind of doing some stuff with,
like,
with,
if I
with
remember
the House of Mouse.
If I remember correctly, they still were using the email chain that they had from the movie to stay in contact.
Yes, I think Michael Cera got approached first, and he, like, started the email chain up, and Chris Evans, I think, says, he's reported that he said, Michael, what the fuck? What are you doing? This is, like, 10 years old. But yeah, so, like, basically all the actors signed up right away. The reason why it took so many years to develop was that then Netflix and the studio had to negotiate with all their agencies and lawyers and stuff to get it all sorted out. So,
I mean, shout out to Netflix for doubling down and making it work.
Yeah.
Like, Netflix has been, like, making some weird decisions in a lot of their projects, but this is one of those ones where I'm just like, man, I feel like Netflix really went to bat for this project.
Yeah, and I mean, we should point out that, like, Netflix is not, like, universal everywhere. They have, like, smaller production units, and they're still, even though they are international, they're still split up into different regions. So, I don't know. It's entirely possible, because they went through Science Saru, that this might be, like, the Japanese back end of Netflix helped, like, really go to bat for this one, as opposed to, like, the American or Canadian or British or whatever. So I don't know for sure. But yeah, Netflix's animation department has been fucking killing it this year. Did you watch Blue Eyed Samurai, Lucky?
I have not. I'm going to, because your boy Kojima is all like, this is, like, one of the greatest things this year. And I'm like, son of a bitch.
Hideo Kojima finally got around to watching it, and he, like, every time he would watch, like, 2 or 3 episodes, he would spin off a new tweet about how great it is. No, that's how you know it's pretty good. But yeah, but they've had Boy Samurai, Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, Captain Laserhawk, and Castlevania. And I know that some people are not happy about all of those results, but I think all of those are rad.
I think all of these are rad. Like, it has been an amazing year for mature animation.
Yeah,
I am loath to use the term adult animation for reasons.
Yes, but, like, there's so much good shit there. But yeah, like, it's so funny to see all these guys coming back for this, and we get the meta jokes. Like, so the movie is fucking hilarious because they cast Envy Adams as Ramona. Ramona is a little bothered by this. And Lucas Lee is cast to be Scott Pilgrim, the character in the movie. And he and Ramona have some back and forth, and at some point he reads the script, and he is incredulous. One, he kind of predicts the plot anyway, because he says that, like, this ends happily. No way. I know you, Ramona Flowers. You would do something to fuck this up, Also, I would never be stupid enough to skateboard and explode, even though that's how he got. But the funny thing is that he says, also, Scott's an idiot because he's dating a 17-year-old. And then we smash cut to the news, and it's a scandal because Lucas Lee was on set dating the actress playing Knives, who Lucas says that the actress playing the character of Knives in the movie of Scott Pilgrim was 31. By the way, Knives' actress in the movie was like 25 when they shot the movie. So not quite the same, but it's very funny. Mm-hmm. And he gets scandalized by the ninja paparazzi. I think Christina asked that earlier. That's new. That's just something they did for this. There are some fucking annoying paparazzi enemies in the video game who suck because they flash you with your cameras.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure that's why they put them in.
Yes. I don't know why they're dressed like ninjas, though. I think they just decided to do that because it's funnier.
I do agree.
But yeah, so it turns into this just giant fucking brawl where Lucas fucking kind of covers for Ramona because she's in his trailer and blows up all these fucking paparazzi ninjas. And then they get their closure. There's those great scenes of him being zipped up in her fucking bag that's bigger on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
He fucking beats up a street kid, steals a skateboard.
Whatever.
Also, there's a scene in the middle of this which is great for the funny because Wallace is there. And he heckles the actor playing him, who is only referred to as Straight Wallace. And he gets cast as Wallace Wells after that gets chased off because he impresses Edgar Wrong, the director, who, by the way, is voiced by Weird Al.
Thank you for saying that. And yes, Edgar Wrong is a complete play on the actual director, Edgar Wright.
Yes, and he kind of looks like him, and also looks like the director in the video game. When you go to the movie set stages, it looks like that guy as well. So, like, they went multi-layered with their references, and they got Weird Al to do it. That's so great.
It is so great.
But so, the production is switching actors very good, so we move into the next one, which is, fucking Todd Ingram is like, hello, I'm here to play Scott Pilgrim. Crunch, crunch, crunch.
Eat broccoli.
Yes. And then so the next episode turns into a making of documentary.
It's kind of hilarious.
It's very funny. It's weird, but it's funny. This one is the one where they get the most meta because they're talking about the movie.
Yeah.
The movie which is being made in the anime. Ramona is her own stunt double. She gets employed on the movie set as the stunt double for the character Ramona Flowers, and her name is Ramona Flowers.
This causes a small bit of confusion.
Yes. Envy is terrible to her, but Envy's normal level of terrible. This is a really interesting thing, by the way. There's a sequel hook at the end. We'll talk about that later. But they definitely still have room to address some characters because Scott is not a major character. Envy and Scott don't get the same level of closure, including with sound effect, that they do in the comic. And I'm kind of interested if they will do a second season and will do more with Envy because in the comic, I feel like Envy's one of the characters that interests me the most because she's a bad person. Like, definitely, she's a bad person. But also, like, she has some of the most moments of, like, sympathetic portrayal and, like, the most real. Like, when Scott headbutts Todd, and he's just like, hey, I'm sorry about that. She's just, are you okay? And she's like, you just headbutted my best friend and boyfriend, and he turned into coins. Do you think I'm okay? And Scott's like, gotta go, bye. I don't even think to say that. And later, when Gideon kills Scott in the Chaos Theater, Envy is performing then, not Sex Bomb, in the comic. Envy's face is the one that's drawn the most shock that Scott is dead. Like, she is the most surprised and upset. So, like, there's a lot of back and forth that we don't really get into, but I do kind of like that in the comic and movie, Envy and Ramona, like, really don't get along. Because clearly they're doing this thing over Scott and Todd. Like, that's very messy, that whole line. But in the anime, like, Envy still is, like, kind of a bitch to Ramona, but not, like, out in the ordinary, you know? And even,
because
like,
they never...
Yeah. Go ahead, finish that.
Oh, no, you can finish. You can finish it. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say that, and even, like, they have kind of like, Ramona is arguably, like, more helpful to her than she needs to, because, like, Todd has a little bit of an infidelity problem. This was true in the original as well, though their drummer is basically written out. She's only in the back shot when they show them doing a performance.
They actually write out, because they also wrote out Crash and the Boys in the the first episode.
Yes,
they make a comment about how they fucking bailed. Yeah, but
which is sad because Crash and the Boys are fucking great. I love that guy. This song is for that guy who keeps yelling at us. It's called "I Hate You, Please Die."
A song about me, says Wallace Wells. Yes. Probably one of the most asshole characters in the game in the franchise. Actually,
no, I mean Wallace he's definitely a jerk with a heart of gold. Like he tries to get Scott to do the right thing a couple of times, and like he's really positive towards Knives. Even though he also says, Scott, you got to break up with that girl, that poor misguided angel. But also Wallace Wells is very much an asshole, as evidenced by how he heckled himself off the set to get in the movie. And then ends up starting an on-set romance with Todd.
I think this happened because, unfortunately, Envy and Todd cannot act together.
No.
They cannot.
Because they just make out too much.
They do. And I think at some point this just gets Wallace a little bit too bad. So he goes over to the director, says like, hey, I have an idea. And then switches the script so that Wallace and Todd make out, and Todd sees sparks. Wallace does not.
Yeah. And also, I think there's a lot of, like, funny meta here because, Todd is now playing the role of Scott. Brian Lee O'Malley has done an official pinup drawing of, like, all of Scott's, girlfriends, like Knives, Envy, and Ramona. But also Wallace Wells is in that, in just, like, his boxers. Like, so there's some subtext. They do sleep in the same bed. At one point, Scott does say the story of how they live together is kind of gay. Like, so, Wallace has some funny actions, and this gets Todd in there. It's so funny, and I'm so glad that, like, I know they said that it's rated TVMA, even with Julie Powers is swearing, but also they do openly, acknowledge, not on screen, but they acknowledge some banging. And just, Todd and Wallace just banging it out in the trailer.
Read some lines?
Yeah. Just practicing their lines. And Envy completely misses it, even when they're doing their fucking, like, interview segments together, until Todd does probably the best thing Todd Ingram has ever done and comes clean. He reveals he has an I Heart Wallace tattoo. But, like, goes through the whole motions, and Envy gets mad. So mad she decides to beat the shit out of Wallace Wells. Sadly, Wallace has a better contract lawyer than she does, and gets 4 stunt doubles, which is a great reference to the movie when Lucas Lee busts out his stunt doubles.
It's a bit unfortunate that Wallace can't keep his mouth shut because, as they said, while they can take the physical abuse, they can't take the verbal abuse, yes. And they leave him.
Which, before that, though, we do have a great fight scene where the announcer, which they do have an announcer the whole way through. Every time there's a fight, an announcer announces it. Which in the fake documentary, they do it great, where, like, the camera guy goes, "Who said that?" No. But it's, Wallace Wells versus Envy Adams. And they're, like, in the backdrop with Ramona, because she's Envy's stunt double, and the Wallaces. And Ramona, beats up all the Wallace stunt doubles, including responding to, "Straight Wallace? You're here?" "Yeah, I got rehired." "Aren't you doing the same thing?" But, like, have this whole, knockdown drag out, and then Ramona is just as flabbergasted as Envy is that Todd and Wallace are a thing. But, they go to have that conversation and show him the tape about the vegan portal and shit. And, like, I think this is a good humanizing moment for Envy, where, like, even when we're having this response with Todd, "That's the first place I made out with Wallace Wells. This is the second place I made out with Wallace Wells. First is the bed, second is the toilet." Also, that's how he loses vegan edge, not through just cheating and drinking half and half. He's just eating poutine, being depressed. I get it, man. I understand. But, like, Envy says to Ramona, you like, followed all my stupid orders and hung out just because you want to show Todd this video. Oh, boy. You're having a bad... You're in a way. But so that scratches Todd off the list, because he couldn't summon a vegan portal powerful enough to suck Scott through time. And we end up kind of jumping ahead a little, because we've handled, the first big 4. Also, Matthew Patel shows up in a helicopter and stands on top of it, and it's like, "All right, you all work for me, right? You're fired. You're making a documentary? Get out of here." Though this does set up the musical subplot, because Knives and Steven Stills are able to approach Matthew Patel with a proposal. It's pretty good. But we kind of once again jump the gun a little bit, because we go out of order, because, what you call it? I think is it Envy who pitches, like, she should, figure out who the biggest and evilest is of all, or is it somebody else Ramona's talking?
I think it is, because I do think, because no, that's right, because we don't deal with the Katanagi twins, and we already dealt with Roxy, so we basically kind of only has Gideon left, but Gideon got his ass beat by Matthew Patel.
I don't remember which episode closer it is, but we do see it earlier, where
I think it's episode. It has to be episode 2.
Yeah. At the end, Julie is going back to her house, and then there's Gideon Graves, and he says, "You might not remember me, but you knew me as another name." And Julie's like, "Holy shit, Goose? Gordon Goose?" And it turns out that's Gideon Gordon Graves' real name is Gordon Goose. He was a huge nerd. He joked earlier about being called Fearless because he wore No Fear t-shirts. I'm so glad that comes back. That is accurate. But yeah, so Gideon's so broken that he crashes with Julie Powers. And it is strongly implied, later it's obvious that they're together, but it's implied that they are romantically together earlier than that. Like, he's crashing on her couch and they watch fucking anime, which is so funny, by the way, that Science Saru does an anime within an anime.
It's kind of hilarious. But I love the scene. So Gordon is in his depressed phase, and Lucas Lee shows up like a fucking scene from Fight Club. Like,
first he calls him. You're going for Goose. I'm looking for Gideon Graves. The one known as Gideon Graves, now Gordon Goose. Now, well, I'm here. And yeah, like you said, it plays out like that, drops his bags, but then it's so funny.
Like, I have a, like, Lucas Lee is all like, I have no one. Do you want to, like, make a League of Two or something? And Gordon is like, I have a better idea. Friendship!
Great read of the Japanese, by the way, because Tokazu Seki does the same break where he's just like, Tomoyo! Friends! Oh, it's good. And then they have a fucking montage.
I'm just doing stupid teenager shit.
Doing dumb bullshit, despite the fact that they are both grown men who were previously mega rich.
And now they're just messing up one woman's mouth.
I've been gone 90 fucking minutes. What did you do to my house?
And honestly, so it comes out that, you know, he couldn't have done it, all that stuff. But it also comes out that, you know, Gordon Goose isn't, you know, so down on his luck. He's just, you know, kind of down. He has a plan, an evil plan. But I still think this is important for Gordon Goose because I don't remember the ending that well. I'm not even sure if I remember the ending, but he seems like someone who was too above it all, like too far away. Him getting like knocked down to nothing, and then, you know, meeting someone and, you know, having a friend, even if it was for 90 minutes.
Yeah,
like seems to do a lot for him in a. I guess I want to say a healthier mindset kind of. Well, he's still an evil mastermind motherfucker, but, you know,
yeah, like we
he's
got
not
that
gonna
as, like,
slap
a
someone in
flash forward,
chains.
and then we flashed back to like why Julie was out of the house. It's because Ramona came over and like wanted to hear the whole story.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we get a line on like, you know, what his flashback life and stuff was, but during that conversation, Ramona is like, I knew Gideon as, you know, like a manipulative, violent, compulsive liar, you know, which is his characterization in the movie and comic. Gideon is a real bad dude. But like you said, him hitting kind of his lowest point, his breaking point, he can kind of build himself back up. He's still not a great guy at heart, but he like sheds some of his shittier traits to just have fun being a bad guy, basically. And yes, he's definitely like supposed to be a weird, distant guy because like in both the comic and the video game, he does like a fucking, you know, one-wing angel transformation into the final boss, you know? Like, what does the game call it? GudaGuda? Yeah, where he's like, it's like a Sephiroth and Kefka reference rolled up. He's like, his lower half is the faces of the other evil X's and shit, you know? And he's like a giant white statue. So yeah, like, this is a very different angle of him to go into, and it's important to like you said, the golden ending concept. Everybody gets character development.
Yeah, like, even Todd, I would say, gets character development because before he never really apologized for being kind of a womanizer and, you know, I can't think of the fucking word. It's
fuckboy.
It's the fuckboy, and, you know, cheating on Envy. Here, he's straight up sorry. He's like, I'm sorry, Envy. I can't. I love Wallace. You know, he actually directly confronts her on it. And, you know, she decides to move on from it. And he decides to continue eating poutine.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my god, the shot in the last episode where he's like, more butter. Yes, more. Double that, then quadruple that. Like, it's so much fucking butter. God. And it's animated so goopily. Yeah, but no, like, that's that, like, Todd Inger's original attitude in the comics and movies is the thing that's basically like, oh, we're rock stars. We can do whatever we want. We decided to be movie stars. Like, that's his through line of characterization. This actually, like, breaks him down a little and has him realize, like, oh shit, no, there is stuff I want that I can't just get.
Yeah, and also because, like, Scott actually fights them all. Like, I don't think any of them actually come back.
No.
Like, they all just get turned into coins and, you know, are gone forever. Like, everyone survives this one.
Well, so, Leo Malley has said previously, and this is confirmed later by Future Scott's conversation about the twins, that when they explode into coins, they technically just go back to their house in America. They, like, respawn. But they don't ever come back to the story, you're right, because now they're a million miles away and decide they don't want to deal with it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, nobody really dies in this at all. Not even Scott. And so we get to kind of, like, have this conversation in this growing moment because, like...
Okay, then that's weird. Then if Scott... Well, I guess this is one of those world-building questions. Like, is that just commonly known? If you get beat up and killed, you just respawn at home? Is it just for, like, selected people? Because then, like, wouldn't people expect that to happen to Scott in the first place?
Probably.
Again, I'm like, what are the rules
comic
of the world?
stories have always been kind of like loose about like how world stuff works. It's just supposed to be, weird and loose and a little supernatural. So yeah, I don't know, but like I said, even if they respawn, they did probably definitely die, kind of. So
yeah.
They don't do that.
So Ramona talks to Julie, kind of ends, and actually reveals her fetish. She's actually into ambitious evil guys.
Yeah.
But Ramona crosses them off the list. Julie goes back to Gideon. Gideon's like, I do actually have a fucking plan. And Julie's like, that's hot. Now fix my fucking house. And Gideon's like, yes, dear.
Yes. No, this is it's I think all we had to do was we had to find a woman who is as sarcastic and cold-hearted as he was.
Yeah, they work together.
Yes.
But with all that, Ramona figures out, all right, I have finally figured out all the things I can do. I need to call my friends so I can, lay it out.
Meanwhile, the friends have also simultaneously solved stuff because it has come out while they're revamping Sex Bomb and Knives and Steven Stills are working on the musical version.
Yep, that's the plan they pitched to Matthew Patel.
Yeah.
Because they know how they'd be able to get it because Matthew Patel is literally a theater kid. Yes. Literally.
Yeah. They pitch it to him as an off-Broadway production. And Kim is just kind of like going with the flow. But during this conversation, because they are technically adapting Young Neil's screenplay, they talk about it. And Young Neil, he's talked before about how the writing process is mysterious, I barely even remember writing the script. Well, it just comes out straight up that he didn't write the script. Like
he's like, yes, my sleep paralysis. I love the intonation in the English voice of Young Neil.
Yeah, that guy's doing such a good job.
He's doing it so good. Like, people should know me. I'm not usually a fan of watching Japanese style animation with English voice, and it just usually doesn't vibe with me. But because this is Scott Pilgrim, which is technically Canadian, it's just like, oh, it's so good.
Yeah,
so good.
No, they're doing a great job, and he has such a great dreamy read, and then this is when it hits them, like, that means you didn't write the screenplay. So they go up to his computer and look it up, and and they're like, oh, this reveals everything. You know who we gotta tell? We gotta tell Ramona. And Knives has a little bit of tension there still, and Kim's like, didn't you guys see each other on set? And she's like, this is about business. This is emotional business. Almost trying to do another musical number. But no, then they have to have this conversation, and this is where Ramona gets her Columbo on, like.
Literally gets her Columbo.
They even reference the whodunit and whydunit, structure. But Young Neil can't quite say it. But still, it's great where they all sit in her kitchen and she just explains the whole thing, and it's fucking stupid. So vegan powers. But what if we had a more powerful vegan? A robot vegan. A robot who's never eaten meat. And just going down the line. This is also where we get, the Katanagi twins backstory. They were her TAs in Robotics 101 when she was in college. I feel like in the other stories, this is usually about the time in the arc where we're trying to make Scott question whether Ramona's worth dating at all. So her relationship with the twins usually is supposed to come off as probably her scummiest because she was straight up two-timing them. This at least pitches a little as the twins were hot shit on campus, and they both thought they would get with, the new girl. And then it turns out the new girl got with both of them, and they all look like assholes. But we get that backstory and all that explanation, and she goes through this whole thing, and then she's like, now I've just got to find Scott. And then, ping pong. Oh, who's at the door? It's Scott. He's
back.
And he's just like, hi.
It was...
Yeah, that thing about the robot, that was all true, but also, I know who did it. It was me.
Dun, dun, dun.
And then we smash cut. And then we do the stuff we talked about earlier about basically he goes to future Toronto and meets his old self and goes through all that stuff. Meets future Ramona as well. Future Ramona has rollerblades made from an old DeLorean. When she hits 88 miles per hour, she travels through time. I don't know what that is in kilometers. Love that joke.
Shout out to Scott, though. As soon as he gets back, he confronts Knives. He's like, sorry, there's someone I like. I can't do it.
Also, hey, maybe not the best time to say this, but given the age gap, we probably should have been dating at all. And then Knives is like, yeah, you're right. Listen, I'm glad I met you, but also I am kind of glad you died because we all got closure on this. Anyway, take your jacket back. And like
Cool.
they get to have a nice healthy moment where like Knives has moved on and Scott has moved on because he wasn't super there in the first place, but his whole time travel shenanigan has let him go like, oh yeah, shit.
I mean, it's like it was a much cleaner break than it was in there, even though like, you know, Knives had a time of grieving.
Yeah.
Knives got fucking kind of creepy in the OG comic.
Yes. Well, so yeah, Knives gets clingy even before the moment because like again, it's funny they talk about that they never kissed. Like she does lay the old smackaroo on Scott a couple times in the comic.
I do believe that she's always the one who like initiates and
yes,
literally
that's what I was going to say.
him.
She always goes for it, and Scott is very clearly super uncomfortable with this, but he has no way of like confronting her about it. He's just not equipped for that. Unfortunately, he needs to like learn how to nut up and be like, whoa, boundaries. But yeah, so like she gets a little clingy in the first volume of the comic, and then she gets really aggro after Scott says basically like, "Hey, I've met somebody new. You know, we're breaking up." She dyes a streak in her hair, which she does in this anyway, but you know, later of her own volition. She both in the comic and the movie, she tries to murder Ramona, calls Ramona fat for no reason. But yeah, this is like you said, a lot healthier. She still has that resentment with Ramona, but it never, you know, devolves into fucking ninja diving her with size and trying to stab her. You know, it's just like, hey, why are you at Scott's funeral? You got him killed. And Ramona's like, and then, you know, stuff like that. So it's a cleaner break because like we said, Knives got a mourning period to like get over Scott in her own way without any resentment because obviously even when it turns out he's not dead, it's not Scott's fault that he wasn't there, right?
Right.
You know. Also, we get a great moment where Scott tells the whole story, and then Ramona's just like, wait, does that mean I'm here? And then future Ramona just leans in and is like, hey, I thought I'd, you know, pop in and say hi. They pose awkwardly for photos. That's not going to fuck up the time stream, right?
I think the fucking time stream's fine.
Yeah. But no, they have, you know, all this moment, all this closure, you know, Scott and Ramona kind of like come together because like you said earlier, Scott's been observing this whole thing through Robot 01, so he has seen Ramona like trying her hardest to Columbo this shit, and that's what makes him, you know, young Scott like, no, this girl genuinely cares about me, I care about her, we can make this work. And they go in for the big old kiss. No, anti-kiss fields, which everybody else finds hilarious. Like, Knives is busting a gut. Later, we meet up back with the X's, and they get involved in the joke. Oh, it's so funny. But yeah, so it's episode 7, and basically, like, Scott's like, wait, this means we have unresolved business. Does that mean I have to fight all your exes?
Yeah, so they figure out that there's going to be one place where all of the evil exes are going to show up, and it's going to be at Scott Pilgrim, the musical. This is where we get that scene with Tom going, a little bit more butter, a little bit more butter, a bit more,
double it. And yeah, but we do get the lead up to this because we introduce all the players, and it's great because like you get to see, you know, Envy's giant limo come back. I think Goose and Julie arrive in like a rundown car, like Julie's car.
Mm-hmm.
I think Lucas just, you know, fucking scoots up and stuff.
In.
Gets paparazzi, but then they all get obliterated by Roxy. Because remember, Roxy's half ninja. So Knives gets her iconic look, you know, hair streak, scarf.
It's a good look, honestly. I like it.
No, he's good.
Well, to be fair, I've always been a fan of big, long scarves.
Scarves are great, yeah. It's a lot of great scarves. Wallace has some great scarves in the comic.
But
I fucking love this sequence, though, because basically Scott and Ramona run into every X, and Scott does the signature turn and fists up, like, you want to fight? And they're just like, nah. Like,
no, I think my favorite is still the Katayanagi twins. You're just like, no, we heard from Robot 1. Apparently we're cool in the future. And they're just like, later, bro. And it's like,
and they are cool. We forgot to mention that. Older Scott is in a band with them, and they do covers of like 80s Japan, you know, city pop stuff. Like, what is it? Conan Hurricane from like Bubblegum Crisis is the cover they do in the show. And they play the original version as the credits. By the way, all of the licensed music in this is great, and the credit selection. At one point, they used, you know, Johnny Cash for a credit scene.
Yeah.
Love is a fiery thing. You know, it's all great work. But yeah, no, I love that they were just like, our robot says we're bros in the future, as they're reading like How to Be Redeemed.
Yeah, no, all it took is just knowing that they were friends with Scott Pilgrim in the future, and they're like, nah, we could turn over. I'm like, Sick.
Yeah, we could be turn over a new leaf.
Ugh. It's the weirdest thing. It's so little, but so much at the same time.
And it says a lot about them that they are like the two characters who could just be like, yeah, no, we could just get over it on our own. We don't need other than just the idea that like we're just gonna be cool with Scott in the future. That's fine. We'll chill. We'll be all right. But like Todd just wants to know about Wallace, and Wallace shows up and says it's over, baby. And he's like, come back. Lucas and Roxy just sass Scott. Matthew Patel, who's got his demon hipster chicks as security. I love that they're recurring characters.
I love it that they're recurring characters too. I'm sorry, I just like demon chicks though. But he used them a lot in the fight with Gideon. He used them as security when he popped up his helicopter. They've just been around. It's like I just enjoy it.
Come on, girls, full court press. We didn't talk about it a lot, but that fight scene with Gideon and Matthew Patel is fucking amazing. Like
it really is. Like
good.
It's a full on anime battle with like power ups and fucking everything. It's just good.
No, it's
great. So Scott and Ramona sit down for the play. They're gonna watch it because, well, guess what? Literally all the 7 evil X's are sitting behind. Well, excuse me, except for the 6. No, it's 7 because the Kanenaga Twigs are 2. 7 of the evil X's are sitting behind them, and everyone seems to be having a good time. They actually start to play, and apparently the musical is actually pretty fucking good.
Later, I think they say that it eventually ended up on Broadway and won like a shitload of Tony Awards. So shout out to Stephen Stills and Knives Chow's songwriting ability. But yeah, like fucking everybody's in the crowd.
Bread makes you fat.
Great meme reference. Thank you so much, team. But yeah, so they're all chilling in the studio, and I love Scott's comment about it before the real climax happens. He's like, no kissing, no fighting? What kind of finale is this? Also, shout out to Michael Cera, by the way. Like, I talked about this before. Some of his reads in episode 1 come off a little stilted. I don't know if that was, like, direction in the booth, or he was just trying to sound like he was reading the line differently than he did, over 10 years ago. But when he shows up later, almost all of his reads feel much more organic, and he does a really good job of portraying not just how dorky Scott is, but how energetic Scott can be at sometimes. Like, he was already really good at this role, but he gets to flex a lot. Same with Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who plays Ramona. Like, they just have more time in 8 episodes, so they get to add a lot more depth to these characters, and it's great. But yeah, there's we've learned that Julie and Goose's evil plan is to blow up the fucking theater.
They have rigged the lights with dynamite.
But before it can go, as he goes to push the button, there's another big flash, and they get sucked into subspace. All of them, all the exes, all of Scott's friends, and Scott and Ramona. And who's there? Even older Scott. And this is like, God, Scott's literal ultimate evil X form himself. He says that he studied all their techniques. So, like, he's good at, like, ninja shit. He has vegan powers, but with a red aura, which, by the way, the lighting on this makes him look like Nega Scott, which is great. He knows all their close combat techniques and everything.
Yeah, apparently after Scott left, nothing changed, so Scott decided to double down on, avoiding his problems.
He realized that the future was going to be changed, so he developed a backup plan. He, gave Scott a drink of tea or something in the future. It contained nanomachines, which generate anti-kiss fields, or AK fields. What does the AK stand for? Anti-kiss field! Yes,
it is an Evangelion reference.
Absolutely, yes. But he also, he sucked them all into subspace because he realized that the timeline was still doing stuff. So, like, his version existed and was even being altered, so he was like, so I figured out that your little friends must have figured out how to defeat the AK fields eventually. So I'm just going to beat you all up. All of you. I'm going to defeat everybody.
And they fight.
And it's a big fucking fight scene.
Ramona pulls out, pixel weapons for everybody. Mm-hmm. Todd gets, pixel broccoli.
Yeah, so he needs to get his vegan edge back.
Mm-hmm.
Even older Scott punches the highlights out of Knives' hair.
Yep.
And even older Scott basically fucking rocks everybody, right? Like,
yeah.
Several of the team members get some good shots in, like, Knives tries, Roxy tries, Lucas Lee even gets up close with his skateboard. Gideon shoots like a Hadouken beam thing out, but they're all not strong enough for even older Scott, and so only Ramona and Scott are left. Which is funny because everybody else just gets pipped back to the musical scene.
Yep.
And so, like, this is the conversation we talked about earlier where, like, Ramona is looking at even older Scott and is like, do I want to deal with this guy? And Scott's like, do I want to become this guy, you know? And they kind of stay resolved to, like, stick it out. And that's when... What?
Not necessarily. Because, shout out to even older Scott, just shouts at Ramona. So, is that what you're going to do again? Run away? And Ramona's like, oh.
Yeah. That's kind of where she's like, oh, shit, I do run away. Damn. But like they're gonna lose, but they're still not giving up. So even older Ramona, age, don't ask.
Really don't ask, because older right. Ramona was don't ask.
Yes, because Ramona's age in the comic is originally listed as question marks. I think she says later that she says she's 24 when Scott's 23, so she's about a year older than him. But her exact age is never given that way, and she may just phrase it as she's a year. So yeah, so. Even older Ramona, roller skates up and is just like, hey, this shit sucks. And then, Ramona is like having this great big moment. She's having her own personal, gaining the power of self-understanding moment.
Yeah, unfortunately for the even older versions, like, oh god, I don't know if they'll ever adjust this in the future because there is a potential sequel hook, but it's one of those things that, Scott, kind of wishes they can get back together. He just doesn't want to admit that he's the fucking wrong.
And it's kind of the same with Ramona, right? Like, because she's like, 10 years? You've been alone for 10 years training? You don't want to pick up the phone? And I think even older Scott says, basically, same to you, right? Like,
yeah,
he turns it back. They're both bad at this. They're bad at this moment of confrontation. Honestly, the fact that Ramona and Scott are so similar is kind of why they're perfect for each other in a way. This is a joke in the comic where they do actually break up, like, at the end of the 5th volume and through most of the 6th volume, they're separated. And so Scott goes through, like, a super depressive episode on camera. He, like, moves back in with his parents in their attic and, like, lays on the couch and plays video game. He gets fired from his job, He eventually ends up going on a wilderness retreat at, like, Kim Pine's old place, This is where Nega Scott shows up and kicks his ass.
Mm-hmm.
Also important to note, by the way, Nega Scott beats Scott. This is why Scott has to realize that he's not doing super great. He has to accept his darker side. But later, like, Ramona pops back into the comic through the power of subspace, and, people ask her what she was doing, and she was just like, I just went back to my dad's place in the mountains and, like, laid on the couch and watched TV all day. And all of Scott's friends are like, you guys are perfect for each other. When's the wedding? Because, like, they have the exact same response to this moment of just, schlubbing it out. But yeah, so present Ramona realizes she's at kind of like a focal point, and the way she phrases this is she turns to her older self and says, I choose you. I'm doing this for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so they hug it out, and then they become super Ramona. And I love that even older Scott is slightly out of step. Like, regular Scott is like, it's just like Sonic 3, and then older Scott's like, Sonic 2. Shit, I meant 3. But yeah, this gives Ramona, phenomenal cosmic power.
Just flicks even older Scott back to his training dojo, and he's just, shout out to Scott for like, here, come on! Yeah.
But I like how she sets this up, because she's basically like, the one who's just met him, the one who's left him, we're basically the same. I'm me, and she's like, this guy doesn't, turn to young Scott, this guy doesn't know what he's doing yet. This guy's a mess. But I can fix a mess. Ramona admits that she literally says, I can fix him, and admits that maybe that's why she dated all these guys who became evil. She likes somebody she can give a little bit of fix to, so she yeets him back into the future, like you said. He's not super happy about this. And then, as Super Ramona, she tells Scott, hey, later, I have this problem with confrontation. I like to run away from my problems in case I have a hard time saying it later. Love you, Scott. And then goes in for the super kiss.
I love the super kissing as she just tries to break the AK field with just powerful kissing. I'm like, woo!
And then, it turns into big sparks and everything's fine. Gets resolved, they get separated back, they go back to the present, and it's all good. Gideon and Julie get caught, but it's okay because Matthew Patel just wants to do his musical now. He's lost billions of dollars.
He doesn't know how to be a CEO, but as long as he gets to do his musical, he's fucking fine. So, even if though it's kind of off screen, Matthew Patel gets his development. He gets a confidence boost, realizes he can be bad at things, and understands what he really wants.
Yeah. He gets to have his self-actualization as well. And he has a great moment when he shows up at the studio because he meets Ramona, and he's kind of like, hey, sorry about killing that guy that one time. You want to go out? And she's like, no, because he's not dead. And his questions are like, oh, shit, he is? Do you know where he is? Is he mad at me? And she's like, I don't know, dude. I'll tell you.
I do love it.
Find him.
I do love his whole moment. Is like, Ramona, you do understand that all this only happened because of my increase in current from kicking that guy's ass, right? She's like,
Yeah. But yeah, so like, also I love this shot where they're like, Gideon, Goose, Julie, and Matthew are being all friendly, but then we see like the shadow version because they're all still kind of like,
they're all still evil.
Yeah, they're not super great people inside. Hell, Matthew Patel being evil has nothing to do with Ramona. She says in their flashback he didn't even get evil until high school, and they dated in middle school,
Yeah.
But yeah, they have this resolution, and we kind of like to the tune of Plumtree's song "Scott Pilgrim."
Yeah.
Which is where Scott gets his name from. We get kind of like this epilogue of like where everybody at. We added Knives to Sex Bomb. She's the keyboardist. Also, Steven Stills and Knives are working with Envy on new music, which is very interesting. Unfortunately, No Account Video has closed, but Kim and Holly seem okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
Kim goes down to the coffee shop, where we find Lucas Lee, the most extra barista ever.
Honestly, there's the man for that, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And it seems working. Stacey Pilgrim is all like, he's annoying, but I get to look at his ass all day, so she's having a good time.
Yeah. And then we get almost like a little bit of tease between like Lucas Lee and Kim Pine, because when they have this moment, they both say, or she even says, whatever, and he's just like, yeah, whatever. Also, earlier, we kind of skipped over it, but like Julie goes to confront Lucas Lee and Goose about messing up her house and fight them, and Ramona just interposes and is just like, no, let's just be adults for once. Stop that. Julie, what's wrong with you? And she's just like, sorry, I got in the moment. And then she turns to the other two and it's like, Lucas, no, you can't stay here. Be a normal human being. Get a job. Ask if somebody's hiring. And he does actually like get a recommendation from Julie to work there.
Yep.
And like, Ramona and Scott are together. You've got all the lineup. Roxy is helping Todd like lose weight and get vegan again.
Yeah.
It's very funny. The twins are just reading their books.
Reading the book of how to, turn over a new leaf. Robot wants chilling with them.
And then we get our last little scene, which is the sequel hook, which is, now that he's got his evil empire back, Gideon, with Julie, is back in his evil TV room. And he's just like, the game's still going on. Oh yeah, Wallace meets his future boyfriend and husband from the comics, Mobile, in France, and experiences sparks.
Is shocked that they are real.
Oh, yeah.
Sparks are real?
No evidence whether or not Mobile has psychic powers, which he's supposed to have in the comics. But yeah, Gideon and Julie are together in their evil lair, and he says, the game's not over yet. And I love Julie's last line. The goose is loose, honk honk, motherfuckers. And that's the conclusion, right?
Oh, it's so good.
It really is, like you said, the golden ending. Like, everybody gets character development.
Everyone gets, no one's dead, and,
most of our fights that weren't with ourselves were resolved without violence.
Yeah.
And even then, Super Ramona totally doesn't win that violently. She just uses her phenomenal cosmic powers to fix everything.
I mean, honestly, yeah, I guess it is kind of a new game plus.
That is probably the best way to say it.
Because, like I said, it is kind of like, Takes Off is kind of a sequel. It basically takes the original continuity, does a do-over, and comes up with something new.
And acknowledges implicitly it exists because of the movie script.
Yes. Like, O'Malley has talked about they're not entirely sure what they want to do. They're just kind of playing it by ear, seeing how things go. And, like, I'm in one of those moments where I'm like, if a sequel happens, cool. If a season 2 happens, cool. If a season 2 doesn't happen, also cool.
Yeah, I think it ends on a positive enough note.
Yeah, it ends on a positive note. I will say, though, if they do actually want to go back and make a faithful adaptation of Scott Pilgrim, I'd be okay with that, too. By the way, just if they want to. Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, I love it. But, man, like, I wouldn't mind seeing some of the OG scenes done in with Science Star and all that stuff. They really nailed O'Malley's art style while adding a little bit of anime here and there.
Yeah, it's so well done. Like, all the faces and expressions are really good. Yes, there are super cuts of all of, Knives' adorable faces on the internet and stuff. Like, it's I don't know if I would say for sure if it's, like every frame a painting type of thing, but like every frame of the animation is really good and it looks very well made and put together. And like, yeah, I mean, I think, they've left a Seiko hook in there so that if they do well enough, they've got room to go back to the well. I hope they do, because like I said, there's still character development that could happen. Like we didn't see. We assume that Scott has, like, working through some of his stuff, but we didn't see, like, the physical representation with, like, the power of love or the power of self-understanding, kind of a thing. And technically, I don't, on screen anyway, I don't think Scott did get closure with Envy, not that he necessarily needs it, because I think they're both going different ways in their lives, but, like, there's background characters we didn't get to at all. Scott's parents are mentioned several times in the comic and do show up on screen at one point. He's got an older brother, like, there's stuff they could do, and I think O'Malley has said that, like, he's never really considered a comic sequel to Scott Pilgrim, but does like the character in the world and could do more with them.
Well, actually, there's something that I do want an answer to, that isn't addressed at all. Why is Future Toronto almost post-apocalyptic?
Yeah, no, that's a great note. Yes, the like people live like underground and like everything's overgrown, and it's like it's a little weird. That could be something to build off of,
Yeah.
But like, technically, like, I mentioned before, like, Kim Pine and her and Scott's, other high school friend Lisa Miller were in like a short comic, about Kim Pine that he did first, right? Mm-hmm. So like, there's some potential for some extra stuff there. I would be interested in seeing what they got more, but also, like I said, as an entire experience for 8 episodes, they killed it. It's great.
Oh, it's amazing.
Again, if you somehow got to the end of this because you were like, I don't care about spoilers, go watch it. Watch it through. It's great. But all right, we are getting close to the 3-hour-ish mark, as we usually do. So if we don't have anything else specific to say other than just about how fucking rad it is, and also all the soundtrack is like on YouTube, I think now, under like Anima Gucci's topics or whatever, you can find the stuff. It's there. Great work. We can probably tick off a couple of things and get on out of here. Oh, I'm stretching my legs. I'm getting stiff. Because like for me personally, watching the anime again, and I did watch it twice, like I said, I watched it through with the Japanese cast. I recommend a second listen if you've got the time. It's not essential, but it is kind of cute to see them go through the motions, and like the Japanese cast does a very good job, even though they do have to say, English nouns like Scott Pilgrim out loud. Also, the announcer is definitely a Japanese voice actor, but he says all the announcements in English. Very good. Oh, actually, that does remind me. This was a question that was raised on our Discord. I did watch it in Japanese. I do think the lip flaps match a little better, which is interesting.
I'm gonna have to do that at some point.
Because I do believe they said Brian Lee O'Malley has said straight up that they wrote the script in English first and then translated it to Japanese. So I think that was what the animators worked off of, was the translated script, if I had to guess based on the lip flaps. But like I reread the entire comic series, after watching the anime. And this is one thing I would do want to say. Like, obviously, I agree with Lucky. I think it would be really cool to see the actual comic animated in this style in full, like all the normal plot beats. There's a lot there. You'd probably still do some trimming and some slimming because, like, I think because the comic series covers the most amount of time, like it takes place over like 6 months. This is where the characters are arguably at their most asshole-ish. Like, they get to do the most dumb, stupid things that makes them look like douchebags in the comic, but also they have the room to, get over it, right? So, like, it's solid, but I think there would probably be some trimming there to, be sensitive to a modern audience and be more direct. I think I've mentioned this before, but, Kim Pine uses a certain R word that's no longer cool anymore at several points during the story, and at one point, young Neil calls Stephen Stills Captain Homo, which is very dickish of him, especially because Stephen Stills actually comes out as gay in like the last half of the comic, which, by the way, isn't addressed in the anime at all. Mm-hmm. Because the character he the male character he gets with isn't in the anime.
Excuse me.
I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but yeah. So like that also means there's wiggle room for character expansion in the anime as well. But like, the thing is that those versions still exist, right? If you like the comic, you can still read it. I think the first volume is like free on Kindle Plus. We've discovered. You can, order the full box set for like less than $100. It's all out there. The movie version is on Netflix. If you Netflix has a thing called the Scott Pilgrim Collection. It puts the anime and the movie right next to each other, so you can just watch that through. And the video game is now back on storefronts. So like whatever version you like, it still exists, and maybe more versions will exist. I'd be very interested to see them. I did actually re-download and have been occasionally playing the Scott Pilgrim video game.
It's fun just to pick up and put down, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's definitely better like that. Because what I want to say is, it's not something I don't know if I could universally recommend the video game, because it is very much an old school beat 'em up game. Like right down to, if you don't look up stuff on the internet, you gotta like do some fucking pixel hunting for like secret shops and stuff. To like buy power ups and unlock your secret technique and stuff. Which does involve grinding a little bit of money. Like I said, you can pay off Scott's bill at the rental place, which is really good because I believe you can buy extra lives there. But you got to save up like $500 in-game dollars to do, which is a decent chunk of change. So like it's tough. Like it's not an easy game. But it's still playable. It's available. The version that's available now on like PS4 type consoles that generation is like got all the DLC bundled, so you can play as Knives and Wallace Wells as well, and see all the endings there and stuff. And it's a fun time. But definitely like kind of my own like occasional frustrations with like what the game like locks to higher levels with some of like your abilities and stuff got me thinking about other games. And I happened to watch a compilation of Game Grumps playing TMNT games by Lesmo Best Ofs. They do great best ofs. And so I was like, oh yeah, didn't they come out with that new TMNT beat 'em up game like a year ago? They did, Shredder's Revenge. It's free on PS Plus. And I would like to heartily recommend that as well. Especially if you want a game that I feel like is built a little more approachable to modern sensibilities. If you did not play old hard as hell beat 'em ups, you might find that a little more palatable than Scott Pilgrim. They are very different games though. For instance, you can't really block at all in Shredder's Revenge, but you can dodge and you can do like recoveries a lot sooner. But yeah, I as a kid I owned the SNES version of Turtles in Time. Played that a lot. Shredder's Revenge is basically like a modern remake of all those kinds of like the arcade game and Turtles in Time and stuff. And I've just also been playing that off and on. And I've been having a great time. April and Master Splinter are both playable, so that's fun. And it's just a good time, a little relaxing time that I've been having. That's also made with a lot of love. So if you've been thinking about that beat 'em up itch, check it out. It does have online multiplayer, and like I said, it's free on PS Plus. So where it's Lucky or anybody else in the squad, if you ever want to become turtles and beat some guys up. But yeah, we will leave off Blue Eye Samurai until Lucky's had a chance to watch through, because I'm sure we can gush about that one for like another hour and a half as well. I know I can. The fucking choreography is so good. It's just, all of these animated shows are just really well made and animated, which is great. Like, they've got other plot stuff I want to talk about, but also they're just a treat to watch. Chef's kiss. But I do feel a little bit of a snack energy creeping up on me, and we have been going for 3 hours, and I would like to get this edited together in a reasonable time frame. So we should probably scoot on out of here. Let's see. I'm pretty sure... Is this technically the last? Yes, next Friday is the 1st. We'll catch Fanservice Friday then. I think I meant to put it in here somewhere, but I once again have let it slip. But it's like a day late. It'll be fine. I don't usually post the poll on the first day of the new month anyway. And we have hit our comfortable three-ish hours recording mark, so I think that was a good topic comp decision.
Thank you, Scott Pilgrim!
Yes, thank you, Scott
Pilgrim.
Talking. And also, it is like midnight for me, so I think the timeline worked out well this way. So, we'll go on and get on out here. If you like this video, give it a like. Leave your comments in the comment section down below. Give me your guesses for GudaGuda and Christmas down there. Love to hear them. You can also join our Discord. Link is in the description. Channel page. It's a great place. Discord. We do stuff there. If you're not already, please sub to get more videos and streams and stuff. Streams and stuff. Sorry, I had to fight very hard not to sing song Even Crazier Space Dust. But no, I'm not. I can't be derailed into that right now. I'm trying to do the outro. Also, ring the bell for notifications to know when we're posting a new video or streaming. You can join our channel membership for access to membership badges and emotes, and you can support us on Patreon to get access to episodes early in audio format. At higher levels, listen to us record this live, where you can, join us in shooting the shit and all that other stuff as well, and have a fun time. So this has been Let's Talk FGO. We'll be seeing you next week for more, where I'm sure we will have that sweet news, because the stream is on the 29th. We'll have some promo stuff to go into as well. We'll have some new interludes to check out. Those are always fun. So it'll be a blast. That's everything for me, Good night, everybody.
Good night.